Hello, everybody. Lorebeards 40K is live.
We are?
That's right. It's Saturday, the 1st of August. This is our second season, and we're talking about one of the most interesting dudes. One of the, if you want to talk about, the most interesting man in the world, one of those guys for Lorebeards, for 40K in general, really, is a gentleman named what, Alexis?
Arkhan Land and his cyber monkey.
Arkhan, that's right. I remember reading about this guy in White Dwarf back in the day, and gotta be honest, I was a little flabbergasted when I realized the whole point of this guy was to sort of justify adding
The
the word
landlord.
land, adding the word land to certain vehicles.
Yep.
And I was like, okay, A, great character, B, a little bit eyebrow raising about sort of the origin, but C, okay, I was on board. At the end of the day, I was like, I'm on board with this. It was definitely an eyebrow raising moment.
The one thing that I found in my research that I absolutely loved is Arkhan Land never lived long enough to see the production of the land speeder. Meanwhile, the land speeder was used during the Great Crusade. It's like,
Yeah,
yes, he did.
fair warning. The stuff we're going to talk about today involves some very old lore, and the majority of the stuff that we do know about land comes from a handful of novels, which, as you know, not necessarily the best basis for canon lore. So just bear with us. We're going to tell you what we know. We're going to tell you what the novels say. We're definitely going to talk about what that may mean. We're going to speculate a little bit as well.
I just love the fact that we get to talk about another sassy tech priest. Because Arkhan Land is so goddamn sassy, and I absolutely love him.
And he crosses over with a very interesting character that I really like from the Great Crusade, which is Zaphon, Dominion Zaphon of
Yep.
the Blood Angels. We're going to talk about that just a little bit as well. It involves the schism of Mars, which is, again, something I really love.
And we got to talk about the totally not retcon Belisarius Call relationship.
So that is my understanding is that's largely a fan theory, but I do kind of love it. Like, it would have made a lot of sense for Call to have been land, right?
Well, I'm not talking about that. They've actually met. Or
Okay,
at least Belisarius Call is aware and has based a lot of his work off of Land's work.
right, because that's what justifies the hover tanks for the Primaris and
Which
a few
I'm
other
going to be
things.
talking all about later on.
Right, yeah, because vehicles are cool as hell, right? Like, I mean,
Yeah.
we both are major treadheads for uh
I love my
for
big
40K
dumb
tanks.
Imperial tanks.
Yep. And there's a cult founded on. There's lots to talk about. It's going to be great. Now, what's first before we get into that though? What's new with you, Alexis? What's been going on in your world?
Well, I got commissioned to paint a total of 40 Sola Auxilia, all armed exactly the same, and I'm slowly losing my mind painting them.
You said they're Nostraman Auxilia.
Yes, they are the Nostraman Sola Auxilia,
At
which I
least,
was talking to the guy about, and I was telling him, I'm like, you do know that the Night Lords killed all of their Auxilia, right? Like they didn't have any left towards the end of the heresy. That everyone was dead. And he's like, I know, it's great.
well, I know at least one of our viewers is going to be perking up and going, "Ooh, Nostraman Auxilia," because we definitely have a someone
Yeah.
who's very interested in that lore.
That's just the start of them. They're not even close to done. This is only their 2 coats that are on them.
So,
Aside from that, I've been working on some more dinosaurs for my lizard men.
cool.
Oh, and you come on, you can focus. Come on, focus. Focus.
Why don't you tell us who you are as well, so we can get our
Ah.
introductions?
So, hello everyone. My name is Norn Queen Alexis. I'm a Viking reenactress, a game designer because I designed a whole one game that makes me a game designer.
That's true.
A a person that fell madly in love with Warhammer 40K, and it is a very abusive relationship that is very expensive. And
That's funny.
that's pretty much my entire personality.
Awesome. And I am her lovely co-host, Ross Watson. I am a game designer and author. I absolutely love Warhammer 40k, and I decided to make that everyone's problem because I worked on Warhammer 40k roleplay, most of it, several Warhammer 40k video games. I was part of the US White Dwarf team for a couple of years. And now I co-host this show as well as Lorebeards and Roleplaying. And we're here today to show off our Lorebeardiness about Arkhan Land. That is our topic, Arkhan Land. The Arkhan Land. The one and only.
The person who found the STC for the Lands Raider, the Lands Speeder, the Lands Crawler,
the Mule.
The Mule, which is the prototype for the Onager Dune Crawler.
Yeah, I wasn't able to confirm that the Mule was from an STC, but we're gonna have to define a lot of terms today, so it's gonna be okay.
Yes, like what the heck is an STC, and is Arkhan Land a heretic?
Some people think so. That is absolutely.
I 100% think so.
There are certain groups in the Mechanicus who are like, hell yes, he's a heretic. What is and what is not tech heresy is fascinating to me. I would love to do a whole show on it someday because I have narrowed down some very common, like, I wouldn't say these are always true, but they are largely true for what is tech heresy, and I have a list of those things we can talk about someday.
Yeah.
Frankly, tech heresy is it's a fascinating subject because the cult Omnissiah, which is basically the religion of the tech priests of Mars, is much like the ecclesiarchy in that it is 10,000 cults in a single trench coat. It is not a whole, monolithic thing where it's always true everywhere. They often vary their beliefs and their rites and their strictures by Forge World, sometimes by individual subgroups.
One of my favorite things is in Mechanicus 1, they have a lot of different viewpoints of the Cult Mechanicum's truth of the Omnissiah. And a lot of those little things play out with them trying to justify actions that they're doing within the game itself. Plus, the music is absolutely amazing in Mechanicus. Mechanicus 2, not so much. But Mechanicus 1, absolute 10 out of 10 banger of a game.
I need to play it. I haven't played it. I need to play it.
You will love the sassy tech priests.
Maybe I should do it on Twitch. Yes, people know I've been struggling with my Twitch show, but I did manage to do a really, really fun Let's Chat /Q&A on Thursday, and I was joined by several people from our Lorebeards community, the Lore Seekers. It was actually super fun. It was the best time I've ever had Twitch streaming. Sorry, I'm an old man. I say things wrong. Twitch streaming. I had so much fun with that I definitely want to do another one of those and also play some games and stuff. So, people should know. I'm excited. I'm interested in doing more Twitch soon. It is definitely going to happen.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I did see a comment we got to address. Zarquaishin says, you should feel honored. I'm choosing you two over Dog Soldiers. Sir, you are a man of culture. I also love the movie Dog Soldiers. Remember, there is no spoon. Dog Soldiers is great. If you haven't seen it, you guys, I'm a movie lover, and it's one of my favorite werewolf movies is Dog Soldiers. You may not have seen it.
I was thinking the Love, Death, and Robots episode where they had werewolf soldiers.
Oh, wow. Is that in the first one or the second one?
Second season or third season.
I haven't seen it. Yeah.
It's a ridiculously cool idea to have werewolf soldiers, and they're actually they look like soldiers, and they just have heightened senses and everything. It's really good. I love Love, Death, and Robots.
I need to go back and watch more of it. I saw the first season. I haven't caught up after that.
Yeah.
But
all right. Wow.
Yeah.
How do we even start this? So we have to define what a techno-archaeologist is. We have to define what the Mechanicus is. We have to define what the Omnissiah is. We have to define the Emperor's relationship with the Imperium, or with the Mechanicum. We have to talk about the Schism of Mars. We have to talk about Arkhan Land's relationship with all the other legions. We have to talk about all of his creations.
Mornington Crescent says Arkhan the Black wants to address the issue of copyrights.
Well, this is Arkhan the Land.
Right, Arkhan Land versus Arkhan the Black. Who would win?
I do always make the mistake of calling him Lan, Lan, instead of Land. And I don't know why, because Land Raider sounds better than Land Raider. Like, hard pronouncing the D.
Well, as a man of a certain age, LAN parties always make me think of, when someone says LAN, that's what I think of as people showing up with their desktops to play Quake and Unreal Tournament.
Well, so that all makes sense for the Mechanicum.
I mean, to a degree, yes. Certainly. Oh my gosh. All right. So pick a place to start, and I will see if we can.
All right.
We can trade off summarizing these things.
So it all started with the war in heaven. I'm joking.
Oh God, no. Listen, to be clear, the war in heaven has become a joke. We both like it. It's actually really cool lore, but it's become a joke that everything we talk about sort of leads back to it in some way or another. But in this case, I don't think that is actually true.
Yeah, no, we don't need to worry about it right now. But
largely,
we do need to talk about monkeys. So the first thing I want to talk about is the monkey that he has.
No, come on. We have to. We gotta lay some groundwork here.
I know. I'm joking. But a monkey with a stinger. So, Ross? I have a question for you. Why does the tech priesthood of Mars refer to the Emperor? Some of them, or a good chunk of them, refer to the Emperor as the Omnissiah.
Okay, and I'll try to be brief, but after the Unification Wars were complete, the Emperor went to Mars. And when he reached Mars, he spoke to the tech priests of that world. There, he reached an accord with them, which became known as the Treaty of Olympus Mons. And in this treaty, the Emperor basically said, okay, the Empire of Mars, the tech priests of Mars, they will be like an allied empire unto our own, but we need you to provide all of our war machines and ammunition and material and power armor that we're going to use in this great grand crusade to, hey, not only recover and expand the Imperium, but reclaim all the Forge worlds that you guys know are out there as well. So it was useful to both sides to have this treaty, but there was a religious aspect to it as well. And that religious aspect is that the Emperor's might and power impressed the tech priests so much that they believed him to be, and he claimed to be, their deity, the Omnissiah. He claimed to be an expression of it. I mean, it's a lot more complicated than this. I apologize for
that. Must confuse the hell out of the tech marines.
I know, right?
They're like, the Omnissiah, our god, and then the tech marines are just like, you do know he's not a god. I'll keep my mouth shut on that one.
Well, it is important to point out that the cult Omnissiah, which is the religion of Mars, is very, very different than any religion in the Imperium. They believe different things. They do not share churches or priests or anything like that. Let's see. The Mechanicum, which the Arkhan Land is of the Mechanicum, which is the 30K version of the Adeptus Mechanicus. Okay.
Yep.
And during the Dark Age of technology, Mars was colonized. It then spread out to a number of places that they called Forge Worlds. These were the colonies of the Empire of Mars. Their cult is shaped by the influence of something they call the Dragon of Mars, which a lot of people believe is the slumbering shard of the Catan, the Void Dragon, although that has yet to be confirmed. And if you want to, we covered this in 40K Mysteries. I forget which episode. I think it might have been 40K Mysteries we covered it. So go check out that episode. The Emperor arrived on Mars basically posing as the Omnissiah and leveraged the religious devotion of the Mechanicum to sign that Treaty of Olympus, which bound together the Mechanicum and the Imperium. It's sort of as an allied, semi-independent state rather than a fully subordinate vassal, although the two have become very intertwined over the last 10,000 years. By the time we get to 40K, they are, it is essentially true that they are both separate empires and also
Absolutely dependent on each other.
absolutely, yeah, it's difficult to unentangle one from the other. Let's put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
The core beliefs of the cult Omnissiah is that the machine god, the Deus Mechanicus, the Omnissiah, is it is the god of knowledge. It is the motive force that animates energy within all machinery. And they believe that machines possess machine spirits akin to souls, which is why they go ahead.
Which may or may not be an actual thing.
It may or may not be an actual thing because it is portrayed in the lore very ambiguously about that. But the tech priests, they treat technology with rituals and reverence rather than pure science and engineering logic. True artificial intelligence is despised. They call it abominable intelligence. And they believe that it is a soulless imitation of humanity because only the machine god can grant a genuine spirit, according to their beliefs.
I also want to point out that they are so against AI that even their pre-programmed robots still have a piece of human brain in their programming. The Castellan robots, part of their lore, that thing that they plug into them, it has a part of a human brain in it. So it's technically not a machine thought. It is a last remnant of a human thought as they program it in.
Fun fact: the the wafers that they insert into the robots are a reference to punch card programming, which is for a man of a certain age. We remember it. You guys probably have never seen a computer that's programmed by punch cards, but that's how things were at a certain point in time.
I like the new animation for it. The engine seer is putting in NES cartridges.
But it's a reference to the old form of programming. So at the very top of the cult Mechanicus is the Fabricator General of Mars. He's their equivalent of a pope and a king, if you want to think of it that way. He's the foremost voice of the machine god. Yeah, I mean, yeah, Pope is probably the best analog.
Yeah.
And we'll get into the Schism of Mars in a little bit, but I think that is a good overview of the Mechanicum, at least to start, right?
All right. So the Mechanicum does have a quest, and this is important as well. It's called the Quest for Knowledge. The Mechanicus has this quest. The Mechanicum has this quest. The Adeptus Mechanicus has this quest. The Dark Mechanicum has this quest as well, as far as we are aware. And this is the Quest for Knowledge. During the golden age of technology, they had the Star Trek 3D printers that can print anything into existence. And they had tons and tons of programs that they could do called standard template constructs. Basically, it's the file for a 3D print file. That's kind of what it is. That's the easiest way to explain it. With a STC, you can put it into a thing called a fabricator, and they can build it. And you can get back ancient pieces of technology, a knife. I'm not joking. There is a tidbit of lore about a tech priest discovering a knife STC, and they were given a planet for the knife, which is hilarious. This is older lore though, so I want to point that out. But it is really funny lore, so I wanted to bring it up. STCs are the most sought after thing that the Mechanicum can find, aside from maybe something else like an entire fabrication or a planet that can build STC constructs. That's like their holy grail, is the thing that can make these programs. Or their actual pieces of technology that are from STCs that they can then make more of. The Mechanicum has a very I'm going to be using Mechanicum, Mechanicus, and Adeptus Mechanicus interchangeably. I do apologize, but it is very hard for me to switch between them. But for the most part, this is similar enough that it doesn't matter. The Mechanicum will sacrifice thousands of lives, millions of people, planets even, if they can find advanced technology that they don't have.
If you don't mind, before we move on from STCs, there's some really fun facts here.
Yes.
Ironically, STCs are advanced artificial intelligence systems.
Yes.
Which is really based. You remember what I just said about them hating artificial intelligence. STCs, which stands for Standard Template Constructs, these are AI systems that were created during the Golden Age technology, which occurred before the Age of Strife. And they're product of human tech that was essentially sufficiently advanced technology to replicate magic. Like, you could almost do anything. There are crazy stories of things that were invented and created during the Golden Age technology. STCs are from that, and it's one of the reasons why the Mechanicus values them so highly. They're insane. They are insanely valuable because STCs were designed to store the entirety of scientific knowledge and provide instant construction blueprints for human colonies spread out throughout the galaxy. And sorry, go ahead.
Sorry about that. Now, one of the big things about these standard template constructs is the Mechanicus both knows and doesn't know that they are AI. Some of the higher ups are aware of it, but they kind of just swoop it under the rug and don't let any of their underlings know. And the underlings that are collecting them, well, they're offering them or using them in the field if they desperately need to. Because the quest for knowledge is the most important thing to the Mechanicum. 1, keep the motor force going. Keep moving. 2, well, it's actually 1, quest for knowledge. 2, keep moving. The quest for knowledge is the most important thing that the Mechanicus can do. That's why when the Emperor showed up, they were like, holy crap, we could learn everything from you. Hey, can you tell us anything? And the Emperor's like, no. Okay, bye.
Only after you help me conquer the galaxy.
Yes. But the Emperor did do a techno magic to repair I believe at the time it was written to be a Titan, but then it was a Knight, but then it was a Titan again. I forget exactly what it was, but he repaired a Titan. I'm going to say it was a Titan, but it might be a Knight. We don't know. At least I don't know without directly translating it. And he repaired this via magic. And this was so incredible to the Mechanicum that they believed him to be the Omnissiah almost on the spot. Because they could never repair it. So there's a lot of things that that the Mechanicus seeks out, and one of the starting points that we need to talk about is techno-archaeologists, which are not a thing in 30K. They don't exist. There is only one, in fact, and that is Arkhan, who he was called a fabricator or something else. He had
he's got. We'll get into that in a second. I kind of want to go back to STCs a little bit more, if that's all right.
Yeah, I just want to mention this last part, and then but he is the first tech priest to define himself as a techno-archaeologist. We'll get more into that later. Ross, take over.
Right. So how STCs work? Just in case you're unclear about this, it's a intelligent construction database. All right. The colonists would say, hey, how do I build a house? How do I build a tractor? They would basically have a prompt for the AI, and the STC would generate a complete plan tailored to whatever materials and environmental conditions were locally available. Interestingly enough, this is also how we get night houses. Is from a very similar STC system. Anyway, I don't want to talk about. I do want to talk about night houses, but we'll have to do a whole separate episode for that. So the crucial thing about STCs, they're not just a fixed blueprint, they're adaptive. They're capable of producing new designs to meet changing circumstances. So an STC built item from one world would theoretically be able to be repaired using completely different components from an STC built item on the opposite, on another planet, basically. And there's three different kinds of STCs. There's the STC engine, which is a master AI unit that generates the template of what to build. And as far as we know, none of these are still around. There's the template and blueprint itself.
There's the debate that the Necromunda household has one.
Right. There's a debate about that.
Yes.
The template or blueprint itself is the schematic data, and this is what the mechanic is typically hunting for, and typically this is what it's referred to as when you say an STC. It's the blueprint or the template. Okay. And these range from full digital archives to simple printed hard copies. Like it could be just like a little technical manual. And then lastly, there's a constructor machine, which is a physical fabrication device that takes the template and raw materials and then builds the actual item. Now they're irreplaceable. Okay, no one can produce STC systems from scratch. We can only find and interpret what survived from the Dark Age technology.
Now, I just want to put everybody's mind in the spot of what Warhammer's technology is like. Primarchs can't even make new technology. Like, as weird as it is, we've never seen a Primarch make something brand new, but it's skirting the line of, yeah.
Ferrus Manus and Vulcan have come the closest to designing something new, and they have made some amazing shit. Let's be very clear about that.
Yes. But innovation in the Mechanicum is seen as extremely dangerous.
And often tech heresy.
And tech heresy. Often tech heresy.
Yeah.
And there is a lot to early human civilizations, depending on what that civilization was based around, what that STC would be. Because Gilliman has destroyed one before.
We have stories.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll jump down to the end here because I do have some notes about this, but we know from the novels that Commissar Gaunt found one and destroyed it.
Mm-hmm.
No, there's more.
Gilliman destroyed one that was like mass producing nukes or something, and he was just like, "This is a culture that worships war. Don't do it."
Okay.
Oh yeah.
I'll have to. I'm double checking myself because I know that Gaunt found one and destroyed it.
Ricardo Andre brings up a good point. Define brand new versus reinventing. There's a whole book about that. It's called Belisarius' Call: The Great Work, where he gets put on trial for that very thing, and he has to argue that what he's doing is not new, but it is new, but it's not. Because he's just taking old STCs and just mixing and matching them, which is nothing new. So when I say that they created nothing new, it's they took things that existed prior and made them into something that is different than its predecessor, but not a brand new piece of technology. Like, you never had a Primarch make a weapon that doesn't exist within Warhammer 40K. Like, you don't see a Primarch walking around with a Kapinga, for instance, or a Chakram, or a whip sword. Because well, actually, the whip sword does exist in 40K.
Yeah, well, I did find the other people that have encountered it. So we're going to talk about Land, because Land did find some, but the other guys are this guy called Archimagos Plosk, and he found one on a Space Hulk, and that's in a book called The Death of Integrity, if you want to check that out. Gaunt found one that was manufacturing Men of Iron in a book called First and Only, and it's actually a really awesome story. So he ended up destroying it, and thank God, because it was corrupted. Justicar Alaric in the Grey Knight novels by Ben Counter, and these are really good books. I will recommend. Mm-hmm. He found one for a massive battle titan that had also been corrupted, and he had to destroy it.
Yep, it was creating demon titans.
Let's see. I think there's a couple more, but those are the big ones that we know of, that other than Land, who have found STCs. However, we have it in the current era of 40K. They haven't found a new one in a very, very, very long time, other than the ones we mentioned, which were almost all destroyed.
The knife.
Yeah. Despite 10,000 years of searching, they've only found fragments and isolated blueprints and partial data archives. So the search for a fully intact STC is one of the most enduring quests in the setting.
So Votan technically have them. Sort of. They are not directly stated to be STC things, but they do have fabricators, which make Votan. Like, they have an STC that makes themselves.
Well, remember, the Votan are the AIs. The kin are the ones that get.
Yeah.
The kins are
Sorry,
the ones that get cloned.
the leagues of Votan and the Votanians themselves, which I will continue calling them Votanians until GW properly gives them an actual title.
I think Votan is both singular and plural.
It is,
but I could be
but
wrong.
Votanian is fun.
Got a couple of super chats here from our good friend Necromancer Kobold. Thank you so much. The poster child of me, 180 degreeing on a writing point. At first, I hated him. I think he means Arkhan due to how silly the name nonsense was, but I turned around because he's extremely well written. Same.
Yes.
Same.
Yeah. I think, what was it? Who wrote Saturnine? Because that's a book that he appears
Dan
in,
Abnett.
right? Yeah, Dan Abnett. Like, give Dan Abnett, Graham McNeil, or Aaron Densky Bowden a silly character, or something that at first is dumb.
Or Robert Rath.
Yes. And they'll make a series and make the character the coolest fucking person you've ever seen. Like, Aaron Densky Bowden took Abaddon and made him cool and threatening.
Mike Brooks is really good at it. Guy Haley's good at it. There's a lot of good writers out there.
Yeah.
And got another one from Necromancer Kobold. He says, it's still funny to assume that land implies that all names work like that. Johnny Laz, Nathaniel Stubb, the Emperor's true name, Jimmy Space and his Space Marines.
It's actually John it's John Hammers.
This is the part of the show where I say, if you want to help us support the show and bring out more content of Lorebeards 40K coming your way, the best way to support us is through super chats. And we're always grateful to everyone who chooses to super chat us because it directly impacts us, and we're it's awesome. So thank you.
You know what?
Thank you very much.
Necromancer Kobold, I just thought of one that's actually in the lore, and that's Astarte making the Astartes.
Right. I thought that one was a little on the nose, to be clear, but 40K is full of that stuff. Ferris Manus being like my go-to of on the nose names.
Angron. What is his name? Angry.
Yeah. Oh, that also reminds me. So we're doing polls for the shows that would like the topics we're going to cover in the following episode. Right after this episode goes live, there will be a poll for next Saturday's show, and I'm able to announce the winner for Wednesday's show. That poll, the winner for that is we're going to do a what if Angron lost the butcher's nails, or the butcher's nails were removed from Angron. So that is what we will be covering on Wednesday. Keep an eye out for that. I'm pretty excited about talking about that topic. So
anytime I think of funny names, I think that the Dark Angels named everything Death. The Interrupters. What does Interrupter mean in English? Death.
And the Blood Angels named everything after blood. And Space Wolves named everything after wolves.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen it. It's many times on the nose is what happens. All right. So yeah, there's so much to cover. We covered STCs.
Okay. So we got the Mechanicum. We got their relationship with the Emperor. We got the STCs. Now we need to describe what Mars is.
I mean, Mars is home. Is the red planet is home to the Tech Priests. It is their worlds. It is where they started, basically where they started from, and where they launched all their explorator ships into space to create more Forge worlds. It is considered the center of the Mechanicum / Mechanicus as a whole.
Now, do you want to hear something incredibly dumb in the lore?
Yes.
Are you ready for this, Ross?
Yes.
Did you know that every single suit of Adeptus Sororitas power armor comes from Mars?
Yes. Actually, we talked about this when we discussed the Sisters of Battle, and we talked about why the Mechanicus is happy to make their gear. And the reason why is because they do not want the ecclesiarchy to get involved in their business. And by providing the Sororitas with all their armor and weapons and tanks and stuff, this is them saying, here you go. Do not do not mess around with our religion. We'll stay
Yeah.
out of yours. You stay out of ours.
Here's something crazy. The Mechanicus does not make the penitent engines.
Really?
We
At
have no
all?
idea. We have
Huh.
no idea where they come from. And it's
Huh.
really cool lore, unless the newer books stated that they found out where they came from. But the older lore states that they have no idea where they came from. They're just torture machines. And I love that. I love the fact that there is like something in the lore that has no origin that the sisters themselves use. But it's so silly to me because there are three types of suits of power armor that are made on Mars. The Adeptus Sororitas, well, all of them are made on Mars. Let's be clear. Every single suit of power armor, every single suit of Terminator armor, everything can be made on Mars. That for the most part.
Yeah, like around 99% of Imperium technology is made on Mars. There are a few things that the Emperor kind of said, hey, these are only for us and not for you, but it's very, very rare when that happens.
But there are three suits that are made exclusively on Mars, which is the Adeptus Sororitas power armor, Engine Seer power armor, and then heavy. It's like a heavy grav armor that is used for outside spaceships, and that's it. And
So
the third one is just extremely old lore that's probably not canon anymore.
Fun fact: the penitent engines are based on Nostroman technology. That's something I found out today.
Oh, that's horror. That makes total sense, actually.
Right? Like the whole torture thing being from Kurz's homeworld. You know, hey, weird. Wonder why that would be. But it's fun fact time. Okay, so we've covered. Have we covered enough to start talking about Arkhan Land?
I believe so.
Oh my god! Oh, we didn't. Well, we haven't covered the Schism of Mars yet, but we'll get there when we get there. We'll get there when we get there. Oh my god! Right? That was like that's a journey to get to just start talking about Arkhan Land.
Yeah,
Alexis,
there's a lot of setup. Like you need to set this character up. You can't just be like, "Hey, here's a techno-archaeologist. He made things." Well, technically, he didn't make anything. He discovered things and sent his notebook in, and they made the things that he made. And apparently, he never saw a land speeder, even though he totally did.
So Arkhan Land is one of the Mechanicum's most legendary and also most controversial figures. He's a brilliance and arrogance Magos. That's what they call their upper priesthood. And he rediscovered during the Great Crusade three of the most iconic vehicle patterns of the Imperium, which is the Land Raider, the Land Speeder, and the Land Crawler, among others.
Yeah, he is
the Land Raider and Land Speeder should be very, very recognizable to 40K fans.
And the Lance Crawler, which became the mule for the Tech Priest, which then became the Onager Dune Crawler. So it's related to him.
I think, well, the Land Crawler and the mule are I think maybe separate. I'll look into it.
Yeah.
But why don't you start out? Who is Arkhan Land? Please tell us about him, Alexis.
Arkhan Land is a sassy tech priest who is probably one of my favorite people in the history of forever. He is a coward. Let's be very clear. He describes himself as a techno-archaeologist. He's the first ever techno-archaeologist, as far as I can tell, or at least the first one to ever describe himself as a techno-archaeologist. And what this means is he goes and looks for ancient technologies, which all tech priests do, but he wanted to be special and be like, I study older technology than all of you, so that's what I do. He was so revered for his intelligence and his observational skills and his skills with technology that even the Emperor was impressed with him. He was the one that the Emperor went to when he was debating whether or not to pull the butcher's nails out of Angron and whether or not he could do it. In fact, there's a really lovely conversation between Arkhan Land and the Emperor that I want to talk about right this second that'll really explain Arkhan Land's personality. Arkhan Land is questioning the Emperor as to why he lets the Primarchs call him father. And the Emperor recites an ancient tome that he read a long time ago called Pinocchio. and where the creation often wants to be perceived by the creator as real, and thus they want to call the creator a parental figure, a father. And he allows it because it means that they work better for him. Because the emperor believed that Arkhan Land saw the Primarchs as tools. Arkhan Land, it's debatable whether he saw them as tools, instruments, or a mix of both, where they are still kids desperately trying to get their father's attention, because he does make a joke about it later on during the Siege of Terra. Archenland will constantly sass you. He sassed the first captain. He sasses Primarchs. He yelled at a Night Lord that was trying to kill him. I think it was a Night Lord trying to kill him. No, it was a Son of Horus. A Son of Horus is trying to kill him in a laboratory, and he's just like, "Stop shooting everything else but me. You're destroying my stuff. Just shoot me." And he's like dodging him and everything and trying to run away, and eventually traps him in there. It's a really funny scene. Arkhan has outsmarted Space Marines. Arkhan has outsmarted certain Primarchs. Arkhan stopped a ground-based siege attack against the Imperial Palace, where they were using termites to drill underneath the Imperial Palace by simply burying them in hardened concrete and adamantium, just to freeze them in place. And he's like, well, the Astartes will be alive forever down there, but they'll never get out. They're just going to be buried for eternity until their bodies eventually give out and die. In fact, Arkhan almost killed Abaddon when Abaddon was a captain. He's such a cool, sassy character, and I absolutely love him. He looks at the world as a problem that he believes he can solve. And his teachings are very, very important to a very particular tech priest who might have studied under him, Belisarius Cawl. Though that was kind of just retconned in, and yeah, it was talked about more in the Cawl book than anything else with Arkhan. It's weird. According to some sources, Arkhan died prior to seeing the land speeders being active, but later more canonical, more accurate stories depict the land speeder being active during the Great Crusade, which means that Arkhan seen it, because he died during his second trip to a library. And I don't know about you guys, but if you ever got into a library, you're bound to be attacked by a giant owl. They're trying to seek knowledge or something. I don't know.
I do want to address a quick comment here. Ricardo Andre, who is our Kurz enthusiast, is saying, "Wait, really? I didn't know that." Talking about the Penitent Engine connection there that we just came up with. That is, that? Yeah, I thought you might ask. I'm ready. I am ready to answer this. Yes. There is a novel called The Remnant Blade, which is from 2025. It's a Black Library novel. And in that book, they talk about a parasitic pain regulation device called the Excruciatum Locus. And the Excruciatum Locus, which came from Nostromo, is also referenced as, believe it or not, in the Warhammer combat cards. Okay. As a item that is then built onto or built from the Penitent Engine and the pain device mechanics. So it's explicitly, if you want to look for the linkage, it's in the book The Remnant Blade.
Also, there's a new Bjorn the Fell-Handed book coming out, and the theory is that at the end, Bjorn is being moved to Redemptor Dreadnought. We might get a new Bjorn.
I'm all for it.
I am excited for that. Sorry.
So as Alexis was saying, Arkhan is renowned as one of the most gifted members of the Mechanicum, even during the height of the Great Crusade, which is kind of the golden era, if you will, of the Imperium. By age 5, Arkhan could speak more than 50 dialects of Gothic, and he quickly rose to prominence as a tech priest capable of navigating the hazardous catacombs and tech vaults beneath the surface of Mars, where they were trying to recover fragments of STC data.
Now, Ross, what the hell is down there that's so dangerous?
Oh, there's a lot of stuff. I mean, we should do a whole episode on Mars. I'd really love to. There's just a ton of stuff on Mars to cover. Why don't you talk about what they might have found down there? Because I'm curious.
So within this, what was it called? It's the librarian. It's not the librarius oblivion. It's
Librarium Noctis? Labyrinth Noctis? Something like that?
Labyrinth Noctis. Yeah, something like that. Hang on, let me check my notes really quickly because I did write this down and then I immediately forgot it because I am so smart. Let's see, because I want to make sure I get this correct. The librarius omnis.
Okay. That's totally different than the other things we were saying.
Yes, but within this, because there's like a billion different libraries that are all called something evil. But within this, there is potentially a psychic predator, something that feeds on the psyche of other creatures, or a literal psychic creature that is hunting something. We don't know what that is. We don't know what it could be. A dimensional hopping creature that is popping in and out of there. Sounds like Terzine. Or a living sentient virus that is going in and out of there. Now, we don't have too many sources for this, unfortunately. I wish we did have more. I believe the most canonical source for it, let me double check, is Imperial Armor Volume 2, The Forces of the Space Marines and Inquisition. So you know that is canon lore, by the way. That book is canon.
By and large, Imperial Armor is almost always considered canon.
Yes.
I can't. It's very difficult for me to think of any specific instance where it is not canon. Although I could think of many times they did create something that was then backgrounded or marginalized, and they haven't talked about it forever.
Yeah.
But I can't remember any time that Imperial Armor came out and said something that was then, because it was part of the studio. It Forge World was kind of a separate little sub studio within Games Workshop, but it was always part of Games Workshop. And only recently have they reabsorbed it into the main studio.
Which is weird because they're in the same building, I found out.
No, they've always been in the same building.
Yeah, it's so weird, isn't it?
As far as I'm aware, they have the Imperial Armor and Forge World and the Specialist Games. They were always just like different rooms in the same building.
I always imagine they just drew a line on the floor, being like, "You guys can't cross this line."
I don't know, man.
Jokes aside, we do only have two sources for this, which is a White Dwarf, which, as you know, White Dwarfs are advertisement magazines and not really canon lore. They do have some instances that are repeated in canon lore, but for the most part, what's in a White Dwarf is mostly just an advertisement. I'm sorry to say. They have some cool lore in there, don't get me wrong, but it should be seen as very weak canon. But the Imperial Armor is very hard canon. But it's very weird that this isn't mentioned by any other source that I could find anyway, to be connected to the Mechanicus in any way. But Arkhan mentions that he went into it. He has found STCs from it, which is the Raider, the Speeder, the Crawler, all from this place. And he's one of the very few people who can navigate this place. And many others have tried and can't. That's all I wanted to say about it. It's a labyrinth. It's scary and spooky, and possibly Terzine is in there.
That's awesome. I'm so glad that you came prepared for this.
Yeah.
This is why we have two hosts on this show, you guys, because it's a lot easier with two minds to keep track of everything than just one.
Well, like, we both have different facets on the lore that we absolutely love. Like, I love the realism of 40K versus their vehicles themselves being silly. But in their universe, I can justify it. Like, I could justify any of their vehicles in the lore for what they're fighting as a real world vehicle.
This is the part where I tell you about Arkhan in his bionics, because unlike most tech priests, Arkhan keeps his bionic enhancements minimal and nearly undetectable. This is a personal choice because he is one of the people who strongly believes the Emperor is in fact the Omnissiah. And so his personal choice to keep his bionics minimal is an act of reverence towards the Emperor, which I think is really
cool. Funny because this also inspired, not directly connected to, but inspired the negotiators, not negotiators. What are they called? They go over and they talk to others on behalf of the Mechanicum.
Oh, those
Uh,
guys, right?
God, I can't remember what they're called.
I don't know either. I'm gonna have to look it up.
Ambassadors. Thank you, brain. There is a detachment of ambassadors that look as human as possible, but they're fully bionic. Don't get me wrong; they have all the same bionics that another tech priest has, but they keep their facial structure and everything looking human, so that they can barter with people and trade with them and deal with humans and normal people, including because even space marines are creeped out sometimes by the Mechanicus because they're body horror the faction. So
Yeah,
Arkhan inspired that by being inspired by the Emperor.
ambassador seems to be the correct word. I believe you're right about that.
All right, thank you.
So yeah, Arkhan said that the Messiah, that being the Emperor, has minimal external augmentation. So he's trying to do the same thing rather than pursue the heavy bionics and augmetics that are favored by most of his colleagues. Now, Land, as Alexis pointed out, very sassy guy. He's widely regarded as brilliant, but also arrogant and highly disrespectful, which is personality trait that, let's just say, colors most of the relationships he has within the hierarchy of the Mechanicum. He's a very sassy boy.
He's also one of the few people to ever tell the Emperor no. Like,
Which is
granted, he
odd
was
given
like,
his reverence, but yes.
yeah, he was like, nope, but because he
I,
was like,
I
oh,
love you, but no.
yeah.
Now, Alexis was telling you about his journeys into the Librarius Omnis and looking for functioning STCs. And his expedition did find the Land Raider blueprints. It found the Land Speeder blueprints. By the way, the first version of the Land Raider is the Land Raider Proteus pattern, in case you're curious. The Land Speeder is, of course, the Imperium's primary anti-gravity attack craft, and until the era Dominus, the most recent era with the introduction of the Primaris Marines, it was basically the only anti-grav vehicle that the Imperium had in large production.
Yes.
There's also a vehicle called the Land Crawler, which is a multi-purpose heavy utility vehicle. It was mostly intended for agricultural use. It could be repurposed into infantry support or artillery or an ambulance. It has never had a model, although it has inspired stuff for Epic, Epic 40K and a few other things. But as far as I'm aware, it has no actual real model.
The only model that I could find that's directly related to it is somebody at Warhammer World built one, but that does not mean that that's what it looks like.
And
And
then,
land crawlers can be anything because the way that I've seen them described, they can be either like the size of a person, like they just carry around utility things for people, or they're so gargantuan that they look like those things from Dune because that's what they stole them from. Like let's be real, that's what they stole them from.
yeah, the sand crawler, yeah,
Yeah.
the harvesters, I believe, is what they are in Dune.
Yep.
The other STC pulled out for something called a Mule, MULE, which stands for Mars Universal Land Engine. And this is actually a walker that would form the basis for the Onager Dune Crawler that is currently used by the Skitarii. So you can find that model on the website.
Yeah.
Now,
I have something to add to that.
oh yeah,
What's really cool and what separates the land crawler from the mule is that the mule, which made the Onager Dune crawler, and specifically the Onager Dune crawler, the Onager Dune crawler can climb up any surface. It has grab plates in it. It can climb up vertical surfaces like a spider. It can climb upside down. It is so cool.
Spider tank does
And
whatever a spider tank does.
in the tabletop game, it can actually go over and through 4-inch or lower terrain pieces, which is most terrain nowadays, which is really good.
So the big deal was the anti-gravity plates that Land found, and the ripple effects beyond the Land Speeder. The Legio Custodes has quite a few grav tanks, and which we know about only from more recent Horus Heresy black books, things like that. There's also the jet bikes of the Imperium, which is again the Horus Heresy era thing, although I think the Ravenwing has one in current 40K.
There's 2 currently in
Okay.
40K.
And Subotan
Suboden
Khan,
Khan
Suboden
rides
Khan, right?
one,
Yeah,
and Samael of the Raven Wing rides one.
right. So
There's
without
probably going to be more very soon.
land, we would have the Imperium would have no functioning anti-gravity vehicles at all. This is
Yeah.
a very important thing about him. And his work drew the personal attention of the Emperor, and land was brought in to assist the Emperor in trying to figure out a way to cure Angron, the Primarch of the Butcher Snails, which is a we're going to get into this Wednesday. The short version is it's a piece of archaeotechnology that was shoved into Angron's brain that became so entwined with his brain that it would basically kill him to remove it. It was to be clear, it's possible that the Emperor could have found a way, but he chose not to worry about it.
He chose to keep Angron functioning as a berserker
Rather
instead
than
of,
risk killing him, yeah.
which is weird because we know that he could have. We know that he could have saved Angron. He chose not to.
Well, land was able to confirm the Emperor's theory about the butcher snails, that they were derived from this ancient technology called the Cruciamen, which is referenced in forbidden texts of the Hexarchian vaults. It's definitely a piece of archaeotech from the Dark Age technology that the Mechanicus knows about. They have information on it. But, they did have information on it.
They probably still do somewhere in a closet.
Well, that depends, because the Schism of Mars may have
destroyed a lot.
Changed some of that, yeah. We're about to get into the Schism of Mars because we're about to talk about the Horus Heresy. Dun,
dun, dun, dun. So what is the Horus Heresy?
Oh, God. Why don't you please... I would like to hear Alexis's take on this.
So the Horus Heresy is what happens when you have an absentee father and a mother that is not there. You get a bunch of children that are fighting each other because daddy chose one of them to be the best, and the rest of them suck and are losers. Except for Lion. He could trust the Lion, but never tells him really that to his face. But the Horus Heresy was... Holy cow. 9 of the sons turned traitor against their father because of a...
9 of the sons.
Oh, yeah, I said 9.
Oh, I'm sorry. It sounded like you said none. I apologize.
No, I said 9.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. 9 of the sons turned against the emperor, fell to chaos, believed the lies of demons, which, when they kind of show you the half-truth of the Imperium, you would turn against the emperor as well. They fought the emperor in a climactic battle called the Horus Heresy, where a good chunk of the legions were obliterated. Actually, it's more like decimated. No, it's more than decimation, because decimation is 10%.
Several legions were nearly wiped out. We can say that.
Yes. 3 legions nearly wiped out completely, and several became shattered. Some got pushed far away, but it eventually culminated in the Siege of Terra, where the traitor Primarchs pushed their way through the through Holy Terra, through the Lion's Gate, into the Inner Palace. Eventually, Horus's flagships shielding went down. The Emperor took the one and only opportunity he had to teleport with his custodians and none of the Sisters of Silence to protect his custodians for some reason. I guess they needed the plot to happen.
Likely the war in the Webway.
Likely, but we do know that Sisters of Silence were active. I'm just saying he could have protected his custodians with the Sisters of Silence, but that's just me going on a rant. He teleported aboard Horus's flagship. They fought. Sanguinius died because he got it accidentally slapped in the chest. Horus would eventually be absolutely obliterated. Spoilers, I guess. But deal a mortal wound to the Emperor. The Emperor's body was placed upon the Golden Throne by Rogel Dorn. Malcador got obliterated because, he tried to sit on the Golden Throne and keep it active. That didn't work, but it worked long enough for the Emperor to go up and try to fight him.
It worked long enough, yes.
The traitors were defeated, broken, beaten, and they fled. The remaining loyalists would scour the skies of them and push them into the
Eye of Terror,
where they sat dormant for a few thousand years and then every now and then launch raids until the 13th Black Crusades happened. Okay,
Whew. That was
I think
great.
that's good enough.
That was great. We have a super chat from Mornington Crescent that I'd like to read. He says, I expect Games Workshop to announce that a contemporary of Land was Adrien Mole, who developed a mortar.
The
So
mortar.
the mole mortar, which is an
Yeah.
actual thing in 40K. That again, it's just on the nose enough that it could happen. I wouldn't entirely rule that out in Mornington Crescent, but it's a very funny idea. Thanks for bringing that one up. Oh my god, that's hilarious. Landcrawler is just 40K Cogfort, says Devin
It
Urbina.
really is.
It kind of is, yeah.
The good old cockfort.
Well, supposedly the Landcrawler is not a walker, unless you're so you may be thinking the onager, but or the mule. But yeah, the Cogforts are very cool. I really like them from Warhammer Fantasy. Oh boy. So during the Horus Heresy, Land was a loyalist. He revered the Emperor as the Omnissiah, so he was like, I'm sticking with you. The Imperial Fists, under the orders of First Captain Sigismund, which I desperately want to talk about, sent a guy called Sergeant Nicanor Tullus to evacuate Land from Mars because Mars was going through a thing called the Schism of Mars, which is the time, basically, while the Imperium was tearing itself apart with a civil war, so was Mars. And this is worth doing a whole episode on that. But
quickly, what is the Schism of Mars? I had to do the Horus Heresy. You have to do the Schism of Mars.
Fair. So basically, Horus went to the Fabricator General of Mars, a guy called Kelbor Hall. Kelbor Hall, as previously discussed, is like the Pope, right? Kelbor Hall was already harboring some doubts about the Emperor's divinity as vis-a-vis being the Omnissiah, and he also harbored some very deep doubts that the Mechanicum would be able to maintain its autonomy as it was being sort of incorporated into the Imperium under the Emperor's guidance. And he did not want Mars to lose that autonomy. He wanted Mars to be its own empire rather than, a vassal of the Imperium. And Horus was able to exacerbate these doubts and then turn half of Mars against the other half by also saying, hey, if you work with me, all of the restrictions that have been placed upon you by the Treaty of Olympus, all of the restrictions of the Cult Omnissiah on innovation and creating new things, I will strip that all away. You will be able to not only be autonomous, you will be able to do and experience and innovate and experiment with whatever you want. And that appealed very greatly to a large number of tech priests on Mars who were chafing at the restrictions. They were unhappy with not being able to just go off and tinker with whatever the hell they wanted. But during the Schism of Mars, we found out that the stuff that they were tinkering with was, like what would happen if I summoned a demon into this robot that I built? Oh, what would that mean? What if I, created tech to access the warp directly and use warp energy to power it? Yeah, it turns out a lot of those restrictions were like for very, very good reasons.
Yeah.
So tensions on Mars had simmered for years before Open War broke out. There was that deep theological disputes about the true nature of the Omnissiah, about whether many believe that the Emperor was the avatar of the Omnissiah, but Kelbor Hall was like, I don't think so. I think the true Omnissiah has not yet appeared, that the Emperor is just kind of a false idol. And Kelbor Hall was very resentful that the Great Crusade had just turned Mars into a factory, to just build everything. While the Emperor was like, hey, you can't research this, you can't research that. And Kelbor Hall was like, but I want to create abominable intelligence. I want to investigate all these forbidden tech things. And so Horus's guy on Mars was a dude called Regulus, and through Regulus, Horus basically convinced Kelbor Hall to unseal all these forbidden vaults full of Dark Age technology stuff that the Emperor had said, you must keep this locked away. And guess what? The majority of that tech had been corrupted by chaos.
What? Who would have
I know.
guessed?
One of the biggest things was a thing called scrap code, which is a digital viral infection that is also largely about chaos. And it spread across the industrial and communication networks of Mars. It crippled a bunch of infrastructure, plunged the entire planet into confusion. Small c chaos is another way to put that. And during all this confusion, Kelber Hall marshaled his forces to try and seize control of Mars. But the Loyalists, they fought back. And the first shots of the war were fired when this device called the Kaban machine. We should do when we talk about the Schism of Mars. I'm going to talk about the Kaban machine because this thing is it is a crazy piece of dark mechanicum bullshit. It's absolutely like just imagine the wildest marriage of like 80s anime and demons and like that book Demon Seed by
Oh no.
the book Demon Seed. The horror movies of the same name. It gets wild. Anyway, the Kaban machine destroyed a reactor complex, and this kicked off the Civil War. And this lasted for a long time. It engulfed every level of Martian society, all the military structure. So all the way up from menial workers to the Knight households, to the Titan legions, to the senior Magi, the Majoses. I think Magi is the right term for multiple.
Magi is the right term.
Yeah. So roughly 8 years of civil war is what this led to. Although the most intense fighting is the first 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, Civil Wars never last that long. Only about 4 years usually. Anyway, jokes aside.
Ultimately, the Loyalists reorganized as the Adeptus Mechanicus, while the traitor faction under Kelbor Hall, they fucked off to the Eye of Terror along with all the Chaos Space Marines, and they became what's called the Dark Mechanicum, although they call themselves the New Mechanicum. And the Dark Mechanicum is a really interesting faction, which we should also cover as a separate episode at some point in the future.
Oh my god! Once they get the lore, they're so close to getting lore.
Right.
They have units in Legion's Legionis Titanicus or whatever the small scale game is.
Legionis Imperialis, I think.
Yes.
Or Legions Imperialis.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the Imperial Fists get land off the Mars during the schism, although the Sergeant Tullis, who was sent to get him, he sacrificed himself to buy land enough time to flee.
Yep.
Now, Land did not get along real well with the Loyalist Mechanicus forces on Mars, even though he was one of them. He was a Loyalist, but the Loyalist leaders, there was this guy called Kane who became the new the Loyalist Fabricator General, and him and Land just did not get along at all. They were
no, not at all.
There was a how do I put this mildly? A mutual disdain between them, right, Alexis?
Yeah.
How would you characterize it?
Yeah, it's bad. It's kind of like their exes. They have to be next to each other and they have to work together, but they hate each other. But they're there together.
And there's this God. There's so much.
Frenemies? No, they just don't like each other. It's kind of like you're both rooting for the same baseball team, but you both hate each other.
Right. So Land has a cyber monkey called Sapien. It's his little buddy. Alexis, I know you've been dying to talk about Sapien.
Oh my god, I love cyber monkeys.
Tell us, who is Sapien? What's his deal?
So Sapien is Kovu's trying to open a door, but Sapien is a robotic small. I think it's a capuchin monkey.
Isn't it like a cyborg? Like it's part metal, part. It's not a robot.
Oh yeah, it is a cyborg. It's a psi familiar. It's very, very intelligent for what it is, and it has a stinger for a tail because Arkhan Land didn't know that Earth was populated with like trees and forests and everything. He just assumed that it had a stinger and that its tail was used as another weapon. So it's really funny that it had a a stinger tail. It also has bionic eyes. It has a whole bunch of bionics in it. Uh, but it is just a little guy. It's so cute. I don't know how else to describe it, but showing a picture of it, if I can find a picture.
Oh, is there an image?
Yes, we do have an image of Arkhan Lan,
Yeah, I
which
know,
has the
but do
monkey
we
with
have
it.
one of Sapien?
It's just here. I'll show a picture of this real quick.
Oh, there's Sapien. Yeah,
Look at that
nice.
little guy. That's
Yeah,
horrifying.
is that
That is a
official art?
horrifying. Yes, this is official art.
Okay.
I absolutely love that he has a cloned monkey that he made that is that has a stinger for a tail and is very, very intelligent. It's always accompanying him too. It helps him out with various things. It is a familiar. It's just great. I love that he has one of these.
So now we get to this weird story that comes from the book Master of Mankind, and so Cain and Lan don't get along, but Cain is like, "Listen, you know about the Hexarchian vaults. You're in good with the Custodes, so I need your help." And the help he needed was to ascend this magus called Domina Hieronima to become a being called the Archimandrite. And this is a whole thing that I will try to summarize for you, but basically, this is one of those where I'm like, it's a lot, but Hieronima was a Magos Domina of the Order Reductor during the Horus Heresy, which the Order Reductor is a really cool subsect of the Mechanicum that focuses on big fuck off destructor weapons. Big fuck off destructor weapons is the Order Reductor.
The
So Hieronima,
Ordinatus.
Ordinatus weapons are immense. Think of a Titan scale weapon on like a tank, and that's an Ordinatus.
It's so big and it could shake entire continents.
So Cain had picked Hieronima to become the Archimandrite, and this would allow her to take command of the Mechanicum military forces that were fighting in the war in the Webway. This was a secret Imperium campaign to seal a Webway gate on Terra against the forces of chaos. That's the short version. We have covered War in the Webway a few times on this channel, and I don't want to get bogged down into it. But the War in the Webway is a whole thing.
It's in the book Master of Mankind, written by Ernest Boden. It is an excellent book, and it has one of the coolest ever Titan fights in it.
The Archimandrite is a specialization of Magos within the Mechanicum that's tied into the discipline of cyber theurgy, which is one of the ways that they control and command technology. It is essentially sufficiently advanced tech that it resembles magic with regards to controlling and interacting with technology.
In fact, it's almost indistinguishable from like prayer, make miracle, machine, which I really like because it is actual technological use, but they revere the machine and the technology that goes into it so much that they're praying. They have like their incense burners and everything. Yeah, it's a whole show for them to just activate something.
So to become the Archimandrite, Hieronima put her brain into a Domitar class battle automaton, which is a really big fuck off robot, using the lore from the Hexarchian vaults. Her war form was very powerful. It had a lot of big guns on it, including a rare double-barreled fusion gun that Arkhan Lan himself gave her. That's one of the connections of Arkhan Lan. Domitar.
Domitar, yeah, that's a big one.
So they through the Webway, Arkhan Lan and Hieronima and Cain and their forces, they get to this place called Kalistar, and the demonic forces in the Webway overwhelm the Imperium and the Mechanicum, and the Archimandrite, that's Hieronima, she makes this fateful decision to abandon everybody in order to locate and defend a thing called the Eurasian Path. My God, all these names, which is a critical route through the Webway. We're just glossing over tons of stuff to give you the bare bones of this whole event because it's a big deal. It's a very complex situation. Most of the Mechanicum troops that were sent on this mission were killed or scattered before they could converge. And Hieronima, there's a Domitar. There you go. Picture of a Domitar. They're big boys.
Yep, and this is definitely not Necron writing on it. That's not sarcastic. It actually isn't.
So during all of this, Hieronyma and the Archimandrite was possessed by the Chaos Blade Demon Dracnian, and the physical body, the Archimandrite, was ultimately destroyed by a Baroness of a Night House, which killed Hieronyma, who never escaped her possession, and destroyed the Archimandrite. So it's kind of a tragic end, but that was a big deal that Land was involved in during the Horus Heresy.
Yep.
Now, after that,
homie.
pour one out for Hieronyma. After that, Land picked up this kind of unusual friendship with a Blood Angel, a guy called Dominion Zaphon, who's awesome. I really want to do a whole episode on Dominion Zaphon. And Zaphon had been very badly hurt. Had a number of his body parts replaced by bionics and augmetics, but he was having trouble because his body was like rejecting the implants. So Land repaired them. He used fragments of a Dark Age technology, artificial intelligence, and used that to help fix Zaphon's brain interface with the limbs, the bionic limbs, and resolve the rejection issue. And in exchange, Land was granted an audience with Sanguinius, the Primarch. And this was where Land was like, hey, you know what? I really need your help to reclaim Mars from the Dark Mechanicum. And when we get into the Schism of Mars, there are several expeditions from Earth to Terra from Terra to Mars to try and get involved. And the Blood Angels were sent a group, the Raven Guard sent a group, I think, and the Dark Angels were also part of these efforts to help resolve the Schism of Mars. Because again, this lasted for 8 years, and that's a huge disruption in the supply lines for the Imperium during that whole period. It's one of the reasons why why Horus's forces were so successful during the majority of the Horus Heresy was the Schism. Anyway.
Trying to find a good image of him.
During the siege,
have to work.
During the siege of Terra, which is the final acts of the Horus Heresy, Land attached himself to fleeing convoys from Terra, I should say. He declared himself too important to die, which is very much the way Land operates. That's Dominion Zaphon. There he is. Check him out. The Bringer of Sorrow. He's a very cool character. You can also
see his bionic hand, and his bionic leg.
Yeah. Bionic hands, 2 of them.
Yep.
Would love to talk about him. He's very, very cool.
We are going to talk about him a little bit in this because it is important that we do mention what Arkhan Land used on him to get those bionics to get to him.
But Arkhan Land did not escape Terra. He tried, but he was pressed into service to help defend the Eternity Gate. In fact, Zaphon was like, bro, you are going to help me protect my people. There was this small group of people called Blood Thralls, and they were being hunted down. They were going to be hunted down if Land abandoned them. So the fighting was very brutal, and 2 of the 3 Blood Thralls were killed in the fighting. Land's companions, his Cyber Monkey Sapien and a person called Transacta 7Y1. Do you know who Transacta 7Y1 is?
No, I know when Sapien died, he was actually really depressed.
Why don't you talk about that for a second?
So Sapien was killed by a world eater by the name of Slaughterbound, I believe. Let me double check. No, Blood Spitter. Korgus Blood Spitter. He's the one that actually killed Sapien, and the grief of that is partially the thing that turned Arkhan Land to being a coward to a fighter. It was that and Zephion actually inspiring him to fight instead of being a coward and running away and hiding. Because Arkhan Land was trying to run away. He was trying to flee because he was too important to die.
That's because he was an arrogant prick in a lot of ways. He's very cool. He's very sassy, but he was like, "Yeah, I'm too important to die. You guys, I'm just gonna walk away."
I actually do think that this guy met his end to Xiphon, didn't he?
Real quick, the blood thralls, those are the equivalent of chapter serfs for the blood angels, just in case anybody was curious. Transactus 7Y1 is a Scutarius, which is why he has that weird name. The Scutari are cybernetically enhanced warriors. They're basically the soldiers of the Mechanicum, and they deserve an episode all on their own because they're very, very cool. So in this battle at the Eternity Gate, the 2 out of 3 of the blood thralls died. Transactus 7Y1 died. Sapien was killed. The World Leaders Champion Cargos Bloodspitter, that's who you were looking for.
Yes, Blood Spitter.
Right. And Xiphon rescued land just before the Eternity Gate was sealed.
Mm-hmm.
And that takes us to kind of the end of Land's story, at least his personal story. There's more legacies to talk about. But after that, Land, after the Siege Terror was over, Land led a second expedition back into the Librarius Omnis. If you remember that, that was where that's that place on Mars he went to find the STCs the first time. However, the second expedition he never returned from. He just disappeared.
Now, I have my own theories. Apparently, he was killed, is what really, really old sources say, but newer sources say that he never returned. But his data slate was found.
Vox Diary.
Yep.
His Vox Diary was found 2 centuries later after the mission was declared lost. Rescue teams found his Vox Diary. And in this Vox Diary, it describes his team being picked off one by one by some unknown predator. Now, the true nature of this is a very enduring mystery. Although I know the Alexis has her theories. Alexis, who do you think this was? Or what do you think it was?
Okay, so there is the whole joke that it's Strazine, which is pretty funny. A living virus could be scrap code that picked them off one by one. I have a crazier theory that it was actually Arkhan himself picking them off. Because Arkhan, in his own words, is too important to die.
Maybe. Some people say it might have been a man of iron or a psychic entity that he awoke with his meddling, or even the Void Dragon, or the Dragon of Mars, quote unquote, that may have absorbed Land into its own body.
There is also a statement by Belisarius Cawl where he has the minds of several other tech priests within him. There is the theory that Arkhan was found by Belisarius Cawl and absorbed into the collective that is Belisarius Cawl. Because Belisarius has multiple minds and everything.
Let's see. Now, one of the big legacies he left behind is actually a cult. His Lands was he was a personality so big and so influential within the Adeptus Mechanicus that there was an entire subcult of followers that called themselves the Landites or the Landists. I prefer Landite.
I prefer Landites also. Can you take over for 2 seconds?
Yeah, for sure. Okay. The Landites, they basically, their whole purpose is to continue research into the STC variants of Land's discoveries, like the Land Raider and the Land Speeder. The innovations like the Land Raider Prometheus are attributed to the Landite cult. There is the inner circle of the Landites, which includes some very senior Mechanicus artisans, is rumored to have concealed some big discovery, like a vehicle. According to the lore, it's a vehicle somewhere in between, like it's heavier than a Predator tank, but lighter than a Land Raider. And this was discovered within compatibility data buried in the original blueprints for Land's discoveries, like the Land Raider and the Land Crawler. Some people believe that the Sicarius tank or the Kratos tank, which were both in that general vicinity of bigger than a Predator, smaller than a Land Raider, some people believe that those may be the missing link that these guys are talking about, because those vehicles are very prevalent during the Great Crusade and Horus Heresy era, but they are nowhere to be seen in current 40K. So that is kind of what's going on there.
Hello.
Hey, she's back.
Okay. Sorry for that. I'm still a little sick.
I was just saying that some people believe the Sicarius tank or the Kratos tank may be that missing link that the Landites have referenced.
Yeah, it's very much it's probably the Kratos / Sicarian.
If it were me, I would say Sicarius makes the most sense because it's so variable. There's so many variants of the Sicarius that you can have.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the Kratos is kind of a very static
Kratos
design. Yeah. Whereas the Sicarius could be a lot of things. So that, in my opinion, it would make sense that it would be the Sicarius.
Do I get to talk about vehicles now?
Why don't you? Go ahead.
Alrighty. So
go off.
Arkhan Land discovered and produced a ton of various vehicles. And one of the big ones, the biggest one, in fact, is probably the Land Raider.
Woo! What's a Land Raider?
The Land Raider is a armored personnel carrier / heavy tank. I just have to find where I put the Land Raiders notes, because I went through and grabbed all the Land Raiders because I want to talk about all of them.
It's one of the oldest vehicles in terms of real world chronology. It's like one of the first things that was ever shown as a 40K vehicle is the Land Raider, and I think the Rhino are the first two.
Yeah. The Rhino was the first, and then the Land Raider came out a few years later, and the Land Raider was real world. The Land Raider was not exclusive to Space Marines at all. In early editions of Warhammer 40K, the Land Raider was used by the Eldar, the Imperial Guard, the Sisters of Battle had them. Everyone had them. But this was prior to like the actual lore being more fleshed out. And then second edition, it was still everyone can use it. Third edition is when it became exclusive to the Guard for one regiment and to the
Space Marines.
To the Space Marines, and that was it. Then after third edition and after the actual updates to third edition came out, no longer could Guard take it. It was just Space Marines. But in real world lore to the Land Raider is that when Arkhan Land discovered it, it was given out to many different army forces. The militia had them, which was extremely rare, mind you. Like, extremely rare that the militia used them, but they used a weaker variant of a lower armored Land Raider, but it was a Land Raider. The Space Marines primarily used Land Raiders because they were extremely efficient for the Astartes. The Land Raider that was first discovered was the Land Raider Phobos, and the Land Raider Phobos doesn't really have a good transport capacity. Its internals were a bit clustered. It had the 2 las cannons on the side of it, on each side, so total of 4 las cannons, and a heavy bolter. But its ammunition storage and all of its other weaponry couldn't really fit too well inside it with the passenger capacity.
I think you're thinking the Proteus is the first one.
No, yeah, Proteus. Sorry, Phobos is the one that came after. My apologies.
So the Proteus is the first Horus Heresy version. The Phobos is the one that we most commonly see nowadays as a Land Raider.
The Phobos is the current day Land Raider.
Right.
So the Land Raider was then improved during the Great Crusade and has many, many different variants, and I'm going to talk about each of them really quickly. So we have one of my favorites, the Land Raider Achilles. The front-mounted weapon is subbed out, which is a heavy bolter or an assault cannon, is subbed out for the Thunderfire cannon. This thing is an anti-infantry and heavy infantry firing platform, but has a smaller transport capacity. Then we have the Land Raider Ares. The Land Raider Ares has, and I'm only going over the Land Raiders that actually appear in the lore, not the ones that they appear once and they're from a White Dwarf. The Land Raider Ares has a Demolisher cannon in it, which is amazing. It was the best Land Raider, and this one is more exclusive to the Dark Angels than any other chapter. Every other chapter does have access to it, but the Dark Angels are the ones that predominantly use it. Then we have the Land Raider Crusader. This one was made a couple thousand years later. It was a variant exclusive to the Black Templar at the time, then shared through everybody. And it exchanges its las cannons for hurricane bolters. So 6 bolters next to each other, glued together, and you pull all the triggers at once. It is unfortunately the worst of the Land Raiders. It's a shame because it's really cool. Highest transport capacity somehow, even though laser weapons don't take up that much internals, but I digress. Then we have the Hellfire Land Raider. The Hellfire Land Raider has even more firepower. It has its the 2 side doors are other weapons, so it only has the front hatch for the people to get out of. Then we have the Land Raider Helios, another one of my favorites, and one that I currently use in my Space Wolves. It is not an exclusive one, but this is a Land Raider that specialized in taking down aerial targets with its Helios launcher, which was really good at killing aircraft, or an extremely long range, similar to the Whirlwind style missile launcher. We have the Land Raider Prometheus. This one has tons of flamethrowers on it. It has the Firestorm cannons and the flamers in front of it. This is a Blood Angel variant of the Land Raider. Not exclusive to them, but pretty up there. Then we have the Land Raider Redeemer. The Land Raider Redeemer is one of the more famous Land Raiders. It has the Hellfire, the Hellstorm cannons on the side of it. And Flamestorm cannons on the side of it. And is the most popular choice for the Land Raider ever. It is the best Land Raider that GW has ever made, and it has always been the best Land Raider.
Bold statement.
I stand by this. High transport capacity, Overwatch capabilities, best Land Raider. Then we have the Land Raider Spartan. The Spartan is a larger Land Raider chassis.
This is the true best variant, by the way, is the Spartan.
And on the side of it, it has either quad las cannons, so 2 quad las cannons on the side of it, or it has laser destroyers on the side of it.
Or quad, or basically quad heavy bolters. These things are called Gravis las cannons or Gravis heavy bolters. It's a particular it's a particular approach pattern from the Horus Heresy era. Those things were, but essentially it's 2 twin-linked heavy bolters or 2 twin-linked las cannons per spawn set.
The Spartan doesn't have the Gravis las cannons. That's every other las cannon is a Gravis cannon. It has the quad las cannon instead.
Oh, does it? Okay.
Or the las cannon array.
Okay, I'm mistaken. Apologies.
Yeah, they did switch that in the newer edition.
That's why I'm out of touch. Okay.
The Spartan typically has 4 weapon systems on its side and 2 weapon systems on the top. It is the one that's most commonly seen with a Stormbolter on top of it, but can have a multi-melta or varying different pintle-mounted weapons. And its front-mounted weapon or its hull-mounted weapon is either a twin heavy bolter or twin las cannon.
In the Horus Heresy, this is usually where you put your Primarch and his buddies because it can carry a shitload of people into combat. Yeah. Now, I think I think the Spartan is actually a extremely similar but separate design than a Land Raider, but I could be wrong.
It is. It's just a larger variant of the Land Raider. It's a heavier armored variant as well. Then we have my second favorite Land Raider, the Land Raider Terminus Ultra.
Woo! I remember this baby.
This thing has, what is it? 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 las cannons on it. And if it fires all of them consistently, the Land Raider overheats itself and destroys itself, which is hilarious. I ran this thing back in 7th edition. It was a lot of fun. This one is the most common with the Ultramarines. This is the Ultramarine variant of the Land Raider. Not exclusive to them, but very common with them.
It's rare even for them, but they have more. It is famous for being one of their designs.
Yeah, they probably have like 5 of them. Then we have the Land Raider Excelsior, which is hilarious. It has a bunch of heavy bolters.
But there's a fun fact about the Excelsior.
Mhm.
Okay, so the Excelsior is the command vehicle. It's got a bunch of auger arrays and comms gear, and it is the one that you can buy only at Warhammer World. There's also a command variant of the Rhino that you can only buy there. So
there is the Grey Knights Land Raider, which has an inbuilt teleportation array, which is really cool for it because it's a teleporting Land Raider. The Blood Angels are the only other ones that have a teleporting Land Raider, but certain detachments nowadays allows you to deep strike any Land Raider. The Deathwing Land Raider is the first company Land Raider. It is a venerable Land Raider. And speaking of venerable Land Raiders, there's the Venerable Land Raider, which is just a Land Raider that's old. There's more to it, but it's an old Land Raider. Then we have the Grav Raider. And this one is very important because this is Arkhan Land's personal Land Raider. It is a Land Raider that has gravitic plates underneath it that hovers along. Well, technically it doesn't hover. It uses repulsor technology, and GW doesn't
it
know
hovers. I mean, it does hover. It's
yeah, but it's using repulsors to hover.
It's still hovering.
Yeah, I know. This one is more heavily armed than most Land Raiders and more defensive than most Land Raiders. It includes all the comms equipment. It includes a lot of weapon systems. It includes a lot of automation in it. Arkhan Land went heavy on his Land Raider, but his Land Raider has a bunch of redundant systems inside it that kick on automatically, which are he claims machine spirits. It's AI. Then we have the repulsors, which this goes into Belisarius Hall's inventions, which is the repulsor tanks, such as what are they called? Oh my god, their names escape me. Oh my god, why are their names escaping me? Hang on, I gotta check my army list really quickly and I can find them. It's just the repulsor and the repulsor executioner, right? But I feel like that's wrong.
There's basically one that's like a Rhino. There's one that's like a Predator. They are all related to Land Raider stuff.
Yeah.
The Land Raider. There's the standard repulsor, the repulsor executioner, the impulsor.
Yep, the impulsor.
Which is and then those are the ones there's also the Achilles, right? That's the giant grav tank, but that's not really. I don't know if you consider that related or not.
I do, because it's the same grav. According to Belisarius Call, they are not new pieces of technology. He's using existing work, which means that he is using Arkhan Land's research to make them. And he's using his STC to make the grav plates for the new vehicles. And the variant of the repulsor is based off of the Land Raider. It's just a combining technology, which technically the repulsor and the Grav Raider are very similar in design for what they do. And this is how Belisarius Call gets away with doing tech heresy and being like, "Nuh-uh, rules as written, I'm not a heretic."
Yeah, he's very much a rules lawyer when it comes to not doing Astraeus. It's called the Astraeus super heavy tank. Yeah, that's the one I'm thinking of.
And then we have the Gladiators, which are Grav Predators, but the only relation to them to Arkhan Land is that they use the same grav plates. There's also Saboden Khan's jet bike. Saboden Khan's jet bike uses the grav plates that the Land Speeder uses. Speaking of Land Speeders, there's a ton of Land Speeder variants. We have a whole bunch. And I absolutely love the Land Speeder. We have the classic Tornado. We have the classic Typhoon. The Typhoon has a missile system. The Tornado uses typically heavy bolters and heavy flamer. It has 2 weapon systems, and one man by the gunner, one man by the driver. The Typhoon, very much similar. The missiles are done up by the gunner, by the driver. The heavy bolter done up by the gunner.
So, fun fact: the very first Land Speeder was basically a deodorant stick that someone had kit bashed into a land speeder like vehicle, and of course it's
Mm-hmm.
obviously based on Star Wars as land speeders. And this deodorant stick conversion is what eventually became an actual model kit. It's just a super fun fact from those days.
Mm-hmm. In fact, I can actually name that became the Javelin. That was the inspiration
The
for the
javelin,
Javelin land
right?
speeder. We have the Tempest. The Tempest is more of an aircraft land speeder. It flies at higher altitudes typically. Land speeders tend to fly low to the ground and be scout vehicles. So they're extremely fast. They hit and run, and they dodge out of combat as quickly as possible. They're also effective at atmospheric fighting, though it's not very common for them to do it. They can do it because they are Space Marines, and that would be awesome in a video game. I would love that. Somebody get on that. We have the Landspeeder Storm, which is the scout variant of Landspeeder that transports scout squads, which I always thought was really cool.
I
And then
doubt
we
you'll
have,
see too much of that anymore because they're
oh no,
phasing
they're
out all
gone.
the firstborn stuff, including scout squads and things like that.
Uh,
Who knows?
we have
Maybe it might come back.
the Primaris Landspeeder is a harken back to the old Typhoon and
Tornado.
Tornado. We have the Dark Angel Specialist Landspeeders using technology that the Emperor himself gave to them, in mix with Arkhan Land's technology to make the Vengeance and the Dark Shroud. The Dark Shroud is a land speeder that emits this cloud that stifles like Auspex readings and sight itself. It becomes very hard to target. It's very similar to what the Dark Eldar use for their like shimmer shields and things like that. It's
Yeah, it's kind of a
similar.
mix. Yeah, a mix between that like a cloaking device almost.
Yeah.
Because it scrambles a lot of sensors and things trying to find it.
We got the Proteus land speeder, which is just two guys sitting on top of a rocket engine.
Basically, it's the
Always my
goofiest
favorite.
looking one. The javelin, by the way, is like incredibly good, or at least in Horus Heresy Second
Yes.
Edition, it was ludicrously good value for the points javelins were.
And then we have jet bikes and from Horus Heresy. We have the custodian grav vehicles, all designed by Arkhan Lan. The grav bikes of the custodians, both variants, are designed by Arkhan Lan. But they're not called Land's jet bikes, which is interesting. I guess the Emperor was just like, I don't want anyone to know that Land designed these.
Well, he was, maybe I'm sure he lobbied for it, because he's a very arrogant man. I'm sure Land was like, no, put my name on it. We have a great little Sarmillion Bloodweaver is now a member for 8 months. Thank you so much. And he asks this question: can Mars study enemy tech to understand how they fight?
So let me tell you about Stygian 8. Oh, I guess I'm going off.
Yeah, go off.
So Stygian 8 is
Slay Queen.
Stygian 8 is a Forge world that specializes in Xenos technology and the understanding of technology of the enemy to use against them. By every other like Forge world treats them very, very, very carefully because they view them as heretics or borderline heretics, but their knowledge is so important that they need to keep them in line, but they check every single chance they get to make sure they're not committing heresy and designing Xenos technology or trying to make deals with Necrons, because they tend to make deals with Necrons a lot. And they tend to get possessed by demons a lot and fall to chaos a lot. So there's a reason that you don't really study your enemy's weapons, but mages biologists study Tyranid weapons. Mages xenologists study alien biology. The tech priesthood studies enemy weapons to best beat them. It is common, but Stygian is the one that does it the most out of all of them. They're also the ones that'll blur the lines on pursuit of knowledge versus the restrictions of studying alien technology and civilizations.
There is a comment I'd like to address here from Devin Urbina. It says, I could have sworn there was something about how Arkhan Land actually didn't want all the land vehicles to be named after himself. Okay, so there is, it's the lore that I found on this actually comes from the Horus Heresy Legions card game. So That is definitely a little bit of a fringe canon source. But according to that, he was disdainful of things named in his honor, and implies that Arkhan was uncomfortable with or disapproving of having his personal name permanently attached to his discoveries. Although I will remind you, he was a very brilliant but arrogant man, so it's possible that he was like, hell yes, put my name on it. But if you go by the Horus Legions information, then he actually didn't want that. Horus Legions and card games in general are one of those things I reference extremely rarely for obvious reasons. But I think Devin Ramita is a good point to bring up, and I wanted to address it because I actually did know about that.
Yeah.
Now, it's important to think about Land is not so much an inventor as he is a techno-archaeologist. He was more obsessed with finding lost STC knowledge and doing it for his own sake rather than doing it for its own sake rather than his own personal glory. Okay. He was less interested in creating things like Land Raiders and Land Speeders than he was about finding STC stuff. So I think there's evidence for both ways, right? I think it's even more likely, I might add, that Devin Urbina is actually right, and he wasn't that interested in having his name on things. So to characterize him as arrogant, I think is accurate, but to characterize him as being more obsessed with STCs than a legacy of invention, I think that's also true.
A little bit of both. I think that he wanted his name on some things, but I also think that them being directly named after him is a little bit like something he was like hesitant about. But he was definitely arrogant enough to want his name on everything.
Yeah, but I mean, again, it is true that he was less concerned about those things as he was about. He was not particularly concerned about his legacy. He was more concerned about finding stuff. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's a very interesting question to bring up. That's why I wanted to address it.
I do want to point out with the whole techno-archaeologist thing. So this is kind of a weird thing because he didn't found the techno-archaeologist as a type of tech priesthood path study. He just referred to himself as that. And that's what he wanted to focus on as much as possible. He wanted to seek out lost archaeotech, delve into ancient cities, and go into forbidden places to find lost human technologies. And he called himself a techno-archaeologist, and that stuck as part of his legacy, is that he is the uncredited founder of the techno-archaeologists.
He's the Mechanicus. He's the Mechanicus Indiana Jones.
Yes.
All right, now let's talk about a fun fact about the whole naming scheme. So 1987 is when we get the Rogue Trader first edition of 40K. This is when we get things, the Land Raider and Land Speeder are introduced. Okay. And then 3 years later, 1990, which is 37 years ago, my God, what is time? White Dwarf.
Shush your face.
White Dwarf 129 comes out. And in White Dwarf 129, this is where we get the reference that the Land Raider was created by Fabricator General Arkhan Land, which obviously he was not Fabricator General. And this article describes him as the initiator of the program behind the Land series of vehicles, which included the Land Speeder. This is years before any kind of detailed biography that we would see in later source books. So it's kind of the vehicles are retroactively attributed to him rather than being part of his creations from the start. It's just a fun part of how 40K's lore evolves and changes over time. And I wanted to make sure to point this out because I'm sure a lot of people who are of a certain age like myself remember, wait, what? It's a guy named Land literally made the Land Speeder and Land Raider? Holy shit.
But I think more of this stuff needs to be put into 40K to show that it is a satire. Like, please do this kind of stuff. I love this. Like, if we found out the las gun is called the las gun and not the
because
lays gun because of like
John Laz created it.
yeah, I would be laughing my ass off. I think that'd be funny.
The
'Cause we
Laz
should be
cannon, the Laz gun, the Laz Ripper, the multi-Lazer.
yeah. Because it should be, in all fairness, it should actually be pronounced Lays,
Lays, yeah.
like you're opening Lay's chips. Magos Laz. Yes, please.
Oh my god, that would be absolutely hilarious and also groan
This
worthy
is
at the same time.
this is funny. I mean, German chocolate shake isn't called because it's made in Germany. You know, that's the same with French fries. It's
Right?
named after French.
Or French toast, for
Yep.
example.
Not made in France, made by a person named France. Oh, I love this kind of stuff.
If you want to know more about Arkhan in the novels, which is where a lot of the stuff that we've covering comes from, there's a short story called Into Exile. This is where it covers Land's escape from Mars during the beginning of the schism of Mars, and this is where we get the Imperial Fist legionary, and he sacrifices himself to get Land off the planet. Where, and not for nothing, this story also has Land's first taste of swallowing his own pride, which is kind of fun. Then there's the Bookmaster of Mankind, which covers it covers him getting the stuff out of the Hexarchian vaults and the Ashramandrite and going into the webway to Kalistar, all that stuff we talked about there. That's Master of Mankind. And then there's Bringer of Sorrow. This is at the height of the Webway War, just after the Blood Angels get to Terra. I think this is a short story. And
Yeah,
this is where Land and Zaphon become friends, and Land helps Zaphon overcome the issue with the biological rejection.
How does he do it? Oh, how does he do it?
But why don't you talk about it?
Okay, so. Rumors of Arkhan Land being a heretic are pretty high. In fact, Cain didn't like him because he was a heretic, but he was loyal to the God Emperor, and the God Emperor liked him. So it was like, oh, I can't say anything against you, you prick. But Zaphon had a unique problem. The Blood Angel biology tends to, specifically him, tended to reject all cybernetics. Now, honestly, they could have just thrown this dude into a dreadnought, but Arkhan Land was like, how do I do tech heresy to this gentleman? I see that you, if you go crazy, you give in to the Black Rage and Red Thirst or whatever. I forget which one. It's the
well,
Red
this
Thirst
at the time it was the Red Thirst, yeah. Black Rage
at the time, Red Thirst.
Post heresy.
And he's like, so if you go into like a dreadnought or something, you're gonna go crazy. Okay. Well, let's use AI driven nano machines to attach these things to you and match to your biology perfectly.
Surely this will not have any consequences for you down the line.
And weirdly enough, it kind of didn't.
Well, it's hinted in the story that it will. Zaphon, the ethically questionable AI implants are definitely a representation of how far Land is willing to go to solve a problem. And yeah, he is interacting with abominable intelligence is almost always considered tech heresy.
Yes. But this was even crazier because it changed the chemicals in his brain. Like Arkhan Land put AI-driven nano machines into a Blood Angel's brain and his limbs to accept bionics that now move better than almost every bionic that anybody else has. And it's creepy and wrong, and Zaphon doesn't really know it too much. He knows that Arkhan Land did something, but he can't convince, he's not sure.
Right.
Like, he's like, you did something. I know you did something, but what did you do? I love it.
Land and his adventures at the Eternity Gate with the Blood Thralls and all that, and where Sapien dies, that's part of the Siege of Terror. I believe it's Echoes of Eternity is the book you're going to want to look for.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of mysteries with Arkhan Land. Should we cover some of those?
Oh yeah.
So the first mystery is where he was born. We don't know. We think he was raised on Mars.
Yeah. So here's my thing about it. Arkhan Lan is shown to not have skin grafts,
Well,
which is
yeah, specifically he tries to be as fleshy as possible.
yes. If you are born on Mars, Kovu, if you are born on Mars, your skin is blasted with radiation. You look more like a zombie than a person. In fact, Darktide actually did a really good job of showing what Skitarii look like underneath their masks and everything. And it's creepy because they look like zombies, and that's how they should look. But Arkhanland is part of a group that specifically tries their hardest to look human as possible. So he could be using, moisturizer and facelifts and things like that.
Moisturize
But
me.
as far as we know, he doesn't have like synth skin or anything like that. He just has his facey bits. So was he born on Mars? Was he raised on Mars? He spent a lot of time indoors. We know that because he's a nerd.
A super nerd.
Yes. But it always makes me question whether or not he was born on Mars because I have a sneaking suspicion he wasn't.
That is an enduring mystery. We don't know much about his origin beyond that. So
Now, granted, a lot of people seem to believe it's Mars, but we don't know.
well, considering his lifelong association with the Mechanicum, that would make sense, but again, it's not required. So possibly the most discussed unresolved mystery is the nature of whatever killed his second expedition. Maybe it's a psychic entity, maybe it's a dark age of technology construct or a robotic guardian. It could be a mutant or sentient virus. Could be the Void Dragon. That's the most popular theory of what it might be, is that it was the Void Dragon that took him out. But actually, another mystery is whether or not he's actually dead, because we know he vanished, and we know that his Vox diaries talk about a predator picking off his group. But obviously, the Vox diary wouldn't include something like, "Oh no, it's on me, arg." That's not part of it.
It doesn't do the Conrad Kurz of I'm dead. This assassin has killed me.
So something you'll never hear on a Star Trek episode. Sir, I found something, and it saved my life. Yeah. It's always look out, sir, arg. So he's presumed dead, but there's no body, and we all know that there's no body. Then that's not necessarily the end.
So my big problem with the mystery that it's the Void Dragon is that's not where the Void Dragon is. We know where the Void Dragon is. It's at the core of Mars.
That's the Labyrinthium Noctis or whatever, I believe. Yeah. So
the really far down part.
It's typically not the Void Dragon's hunting zone. The Librarium Omnis. Sorry, what is it again?
Hang on.
Librarius Omnis. That's what it is.
Yeah, Omnis.
Librarius Omnis is not typically the hunting grounds of the Void Dragon, which is why that's a little like I'm not sure about that, but.
So my big thing is Arkhan Lan stating that he is too important to die. I think so. We know that there's several parts on Mars that are a mystery to everybody. There's a whole part where tens of thousands of Astartes were kept. Like, Belisarius Call kept thousands of Primaris Marines on Mars hidden from everybody. That takes up quite a lot of space. This labyrinth apparently is so big it takes years to search through it.
We've got to do an episode on Mars. It's just it's required.
Yes.
The biggest fan theory about what happened to Land is that he's secretly Belisarius Call.
I honestly think that that's true. I think that Belisarius Call and him are now connected. Like they are, or it would be really funny if he was the Call inferior.
Well, there's a lot of parallels because both of them are maverick genius inventors Both of them operate outside. Oh, there's COVID. Both of them operate outside normal Mechanicus doctrine. There's also this very convenient timing gap between Land's disappearance and Call's emergence.
Yep.
It's never. This is completely unconfirmed. It's fan speculation. Games Workshop has never endorsed this theory, but it is a very, very popular one that Call is Arkhan Land in disguise, or Call inferior, as Alexis points out.
I really like this theory. I kind of wish it was Arkhan Land that came back and not a new character being Belisarius Call. But then again, I do like that old characters are dead and new characters took over. Oh, excuse me. So my theory is this. Arkhan Land went into the labyrinth, found a way to pick off his crew, okay? And then kept himself in stasis. And we will find him again. I think that he will emerge in the future and he'll create the new Land Raider. And it'll be the Primaris Land Raider. Land's Primaris. They're slightly taller than Belisarius Calls.
Now, Land, as we say, he's kind of the pioneer of technoarchaeology in 40K. One of the things that he stands apart from a lot of the other guys in his category, he was not an innovator. He was someone who wanted to hunt down existing technology and bring that back. He was kind of the ideal version of a Mechanicus technoarchaeologist in the eyes of the Orthodox faith, because his purpose was to find and faithfully restore pre-existing Dark Age technology knowledge, not creating anything new. Now, that is, of course, completely notwithstanding his little dabbling into AI stuff with Zaphon and the idea that he helped bring into effect all of these quote unquote new vehicles like the Land Raider and Land Speeder. Those were considered okay because they were from STC, which is a totally fine version of artificial intelligence. I will remind you, there's a massive hypocrisy here with regards to this.
When the what was it? The Ball Predator, not the Ball Predator. When the Land Raider Crusader was made by the Black Templar.
You're thinking of the Predator Executioner that the Space Wolves made is the big one.
The one where they had to pull it aside and study it for like 600 years, and they're like, the machine spirit seems to accept it, so it's okay. I want to say it was the Crusader. Was it the Crusader?
I think it was the Predator Executioner.
It might be.
Just double check that, because this is a very famous story when they came out with a new version of the Predator Annihilator. That's what it was.
Yeah, Predator
Annihilator. The Space Wolves were the first ones to bring it out, and it was like, oh, it's got 2 las cannons in the turret instead of an autocannon. Oh no, clutch my pearls.
Which, as a lore nerd, do you know what bugged the crap out of me? When they added the Ball Predator and the Predator Annihilator to Horus Heresy.
They did kind of they did retcon all this, but in the original lore, the Annihilator was studied for 200 years by the Mechanicus, and they were like, you know what, this actually isn't some unsanctioned hack job. This is actually just fine. It's a feature, not a bug. It's part of the Dark Age technology STC. We're gonna say it's fine. It's fine. Go take it and build it and do whatever you want with it. It was just a fun little bit of lore when that new version of the tank was introduced, but now the Annihilator has been adopted, and I think I don't want to say entirely retcon, but it's definitely they don't really talk about this anymore.
I could see this still being canon, and the Heresy losing all the Land Raider Proteus, the Proteus Predators. I could see all of those being destroyed to the point where they can't produce them anymore. And so they were just like, oh, well, that clearly didn't happen.
Yeah, that's a far more reasonable explanation, I think, of Dexys. Yeah. That's a good one. Yeah.
Because it's the same with the Land Raider having the Flamestorm cannons. Those didn't come out for another 6,000 years. Those didn't exist. Dreadnoughts with conversion beamers were common in the Heresy, but Tech Marines in 40K can walk around with conversion beamers, which is kind of neat.
The point I'm trying to get to is that Arkhan Land was a purist. He was about even his signature discoveries were data slates and schematics that he found, nothing that he engineered from scratch. He was a poster child, by and large, for a Mechanicus orthodoxy. He was reverent, he was restrained, he was dedicated to recovering rather than creating. And this is why he may not actually be Call, because Belisarius Cawl is a radical innovator.
Yes.
And that is like the biggest evidence for them not being the same person. Because what Cawl likes to do, where Land would seek out an STC database, Cawl was like, no. He's like, we can just do something. We can innovate. We can create our own stuff. This is why a lot of Mechanicus consider Cawl a heretic, because he experiments with non-STC designs. He breaks from that orthodox reverence for the Dark Age relics, and instead are entirely novel creations like the Primaire Space Marines, which is Call's crowning achievement.
Yes,
and a lot of the reasons that Cawl gets away with this is that Guilliman, the Primarch returned, the Lord Regent of Terra, is essentially the highest authority in the Imperium, period. And he's like, no, it's fine. Trust me, it's fine. And even the Mechanicus is like, yeah, we'd probably better listen to him.
Yeah.
Cawl operates on a vastly larger timescale and political stage than Land ever did. Cawl shapes the entire strategy of the Imperium's war machine in a lot of ways. And Land is more or less a very comparatively grounded field expert. And his influence is still big, but it's rooted in very specific patterns as opposed to an entirely new army. Thank you very much, Belisarius Cawl.
So this is also what Belisarius Cawl looked like when Arkhan Land was alive.
Which is not that dissimilar. That's
No.
not a lot of bionics there visible, I should say.
Mm-hmm. He's got a couple going into his skull. He's got an eye. He's got a couple on his hands. He's got one on his wrist. One on his palm, but not too many. I think this artwork is just really cool because it shows what Belisarius Cawl looked like before he became, sassy grandpa. Which I absolutely love. I love Belisarius Cawl as a character. I love Arkhan Land as a character. I do wish we got more Arkhan Land throughout the Heresy. I think he would have been a great character to just be a breakaway character that just kind of explains, like, from the Mechanicus perspective, what the Primarchs actually are. Because a lot of the Primarchs didn't have too much respect from the Mechanicus, but some had a lot, like the Iron Warriors and Iron Hands. And even the Salamanders were revered by the Mechanicus, but some of them were just like not as known by the Mechanicus, which is weird because like the Space Wolves and the Mechanicus don't have a good relationship, even though the Space Wolves have innovated technologies. Like they have the frost weapons, the cryo weapons. They have really good flesh shaping, which is weird. Like for Space Wolves are very technologically advanced. It's kind of random.
I do want to go back and talk about Sapien a little bit.
The monkey, go for it.
Okay, so Sapien, by the time that we get to this point in 40K, in 30K, monkeys are extinct. Okay, and Arkhan Land basically created Sapien based on what he thought monkeys were like, based on descriptions of monkeys, including their prehensile tail. So the fact that Sapien has a scorpion tail is because Arkhan Land is like, well, they have a tail, some kind of tail. This is what I think it looked like. This is what a monkey looks like, right? Surely this is what it is. I think that's great. And of course, everybody's like, "What is that thing?" Nobody can recognize it because monkeys were extinct, and anybody who met him, they were just like, "Oh God, what is that thing on your shoulder?"
Yeah, it was weird, but I love him. It's a little monkey.
Yeah, Sapien is a cloned approximation based on secondhand historical guesses. Uh, and
There's
that's one of the best things about 40K is the way it blends that grimdark with the comedy. And Sapien is a great example of a comedic element. Of course he's got a scorpion tail. That's what monkeys do.
I do love this. Did Len not meet a Jacaro? Nope.
Not canonically. No, Jakiro are very rare, to be clear.
Yep. Oh, also, Archenland could have given Sapien either either Lignotechnus or Binary, or he could have given him human speech, and he chose to give them neither to see what it would sound like. He was very curious as to what the monkey would sound like, because no one has ever heard a monkey like making noise.
So he was the first one to discover ook ook.
Yes, and probably get poop thrown at him.
Very likely. Decoretsu Kobold coming into the super chat says 40K needs more human. I'm so done with all this assholes like land around in some form. And the Mechanicus could use more than 2 named characters. Yes, you're not kidding.
No, we have to wait 18. We have to wait like 15 more years for another named character for the Mechanicus.
Yeah, Midford is asking about the orangutan dudes that make digital weapons for the Inquisition. Those are the Jacaro.
Yeah.
Did Sapien ever meet the Jacaro? I don't think so, because Sapien died at the Siege of Terra.
Also, I think Jacaros were largely exterminated by the Imperium because they were deemed a dangerous alien race. They were only okayed in 40K because Inquisitors started using them and rogue traders like them. And even then, they're not a sanctioned, they're a semi-sanctioned Xenos, as long as the Inquisition is involved or rogue traders involved. So they're not a alien that could just walk around like human societies. They're extremely rare. But yeah. Let's get named characters. When Gene Steelcults gets some, oh my god, Mornington Crescent, you are hurting me. You are.
When the Gene Steelcults get more named characters, the Mechanicals will get more. Nice.
So I don't think the Gene Stealer cult should have named characters, because that kind of defeats the purpose of the Gene Stealer cult, unless they have a renegade Gene Stealer cult that is broken away from the Tyranid cult. And you can do this. There is actually lore for this now. You can have them be mouse strain Gene Stealer cultists, because this exists in the lore now, which makes me happy.
Master of Mankind is another novel he's in. I almost forgot about that. Ernevsky Bowden wrote this book, and at one point, Land seriously entertains the idea of personally leading an effort to retake Mars from the Dark Mechanicum, which the other characters in the novel are like, okay, you are effing crazy, because he's not a combat leader, he's not a general, he's just a guy. He's just a guy, who's like really smart. But he's very, very passionate about this, and that's why when he fixed Zaphen, his payment was, I want to talk to Sanguinius. And it's interesting to note that Land's reverence for Mars is, he wanted to see it purified. He wanted to see it unified once again, but not with the crazy chaos bullshit that Kelbor Hall had unleashed from all the vaults.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
he's an interesting character when it comes to the Schism of Mars. He's clearly on the loyalist side, but he's such a zealot about it. He's such a zealot that the Emperor is the Omnissiah, damn it.
Yeah.
That he wanted to personally lead and assemble a strike force to go back and help retake the planet.
I also want to point out that he was smart enough to stop Abaddon. Like, Abaddon had to surface out of his termite because of Arkhan Lan. Arkhan Lan trapped a ton of Sons of Horus veterans underground forever. Like, that is huge. And he
nasty.
managed Well, yeah, because they're just gonna eventually die, and it's gonna take thousands of years for them to die because they're gonna go into stasis, and then they're never going to be uncovered.
I mean, that begs the question: are they still down there somewhere? Are they
Yeah,
still
probably.
could they possibly wake up and cause some horrible problems on
Gee,
Terra?
oh my god. Okay, I could ooh, imagine what
Let's
would
theory craft
happen.
this a little bit. Yeah,
Hold on, because these are chaos. Well, chaos adjacent marines. They're not chaos marines yet. They're not heretic. They're
oh,
they're
they're
on the side of
definitely
the Horus
heretics.
heresies. They are heretics, but when we think of heretics, we think of possessed marines and things like that. These weren't possessed, but they could very well easily have been possessed while down there.
Right. I was going to say that it's important to remember that during the Siege of Terror, there was a whole lot of demons going on and a whole lot of chaos
Now,
bullshit happening on the planet. So it's possible those guys, even though they weren't necessarily possessed at the time, could have been. They could have some chaos magic bullcrap to keep them alive and show up again some point in the future. God, wouldn't that be wild?
so I got something scarier for you, Ross. So not all of them are going to survive. The ones that wake up from their essentially super coma, because that's what the Astartes do, they go into suspended animation. But once their bodies start digesting themselves, because that's what your body does when it's starving, they're gonna wake up and they're going to eat each other. Like that is the only meal available. So there is gonna be one super corrupted Astartes in there that has eaten all of his other brothers, every bit of them, and is going to probably be possessed by greater demons.
Like he
And
would be
that thing is gonna
the last son of Horus. That's the title of
that's
the
his
short
title.
story. That's the short story I would write where this happens, and the guy, the last survivor, that termite, is like digging his way with a spoon back to the surface.
Yeah. But the crazy thing was, Abaddon's plan was to drill under the gate, right?
Mhm.
And Arkhan Land pinpointed exactly where those termites were and buried them alive. Abaddon only got out because he has a teleport homer. He got out because he had plot armor. But he was then confronted by Sigismund, Dorn, and I don't think Garrow was there, but I think there was a third swordsman there. And then Abaddon made the comment that any one of you I could take in a 1v1, but both of you I can't, or all of you I can't. And he left.
Okay,
Uh,
and I'm going to say this with some authority. That was some that was some bullcrap. That was some bullshit from Abaddon. Because
I mean,
if you went on one Sigismund would probably walk away. I would put money on Sigismund every day of the
uh,
week.
a non chaos empowered Abaddon.
Yeah,
Hell, I'm giving it to like Abaddon is a ridiculously good swordsman. Like we cannot say that he is a bad fighter in any way, shape, or form. He was one of the best. But Sigismund is that guy. Like Sigismund is Sigismund. Like that's
he's
who
the
he is.
he's the
Like
greatest. He's the greatest swordsman of the legions. Period.
yes.
He's capable of defeating at least some of the Primarchs one on one.
Yes. Like even rules wise he can defeat Primarchs.
Well, certainly Lorgar, and
Well, I don't count him as a
probably.
Primarch.
Oh damn! Whoa! Word Bears fans.
What, one fan? I could beat them up.
No, the Word Bears. Oh my God! The next tournament you go to in America, Alexis, there's gonna be so many Word Bears fans going, how dare you?
And then I'm gonna charge Tyler's turn one and blow them up and be like, I dare.
Oh my God! Okay, now Devin Urbina points out which one of them is still alive between Sigismund and Abaddon. Well, it's Abaddon, so good point.
Yeah. Older Abaddon, fully chosen by all the Chaos Gods as their greatest champion, wielding Dracneon, is probably the scariest, most powerful Chaos Space Marine ever. But that aside, that Archenland was the one to stop him in his tracks, and Abaddon's plans normally at this point, because Aaron Dinsky Bowden already wrote the Talon of Horus and all of the other War Master books, which are really, really, really good. Highly recommend those. especially if you don't like Abaddon. Read those books and you will like Abaddon by the end of them. Aaron Dinsky Bowden does a fantastic job with them. But because of that, the Sons of Horus couldn't breach the Eternity Gate. They had to, well, they couldn't surface, but some of them surfaced, and they had to go on foot to assault. That's when Fulgrim attacked the walls. I might get these in the wrong order. I do apologize if I do. It's been a very long time since I read all of the Siege books. But it is very cool that Arkhan Lan, as a non-combat general, was smart enough to outsmart Abaddon, which is huge. Like, that's big.
Yeah, he's a brilliant man. We have talked about this. I can't believe you forgot a grav vehicle for your favorite faction.
What?
There's the Karen Pattern Inquisitor, which is an anti-gravity vehicle built for the Sisters of Silence.
Yes, the Inquisitor. I have a whole bunch of those.
Right?
I have 6 of those.
They also have their own pattern of jet bike, the Irenes pattern.
Yes.
Which is kind of fun.
They also have the Grav Rhinos.
Right. There's the Custodes have the Coronis Grav Carrier, which is their APC basically. The Caladius Grav Tank, the Pallas Grav Attack vehicle, which is actually like pound for pound one of their best vehicles in terms of points value in the game.
Oh my god, it's still amazing.
Pallas is really good.
We do have a question from Mornington Crescent. Did he design the Votann land train?
Ooh, that's a good question.
The problem is wow, I gotta say is 3 times. That's so weird. The problem is that the land train might not be canon anymore because it does come from Epic, and a lot of the stuff in Epic is no longer around. But I don't know because it's the Squats land train.
So there's the land train and the Hecaton land fortress, which are the two things that they have. And
the Hecaton land fortress is different.
It's a fan theory that they're related to land. We have no actual information that he's involved with them whatsoever. But obviously, anything named a land is something. People are going to say, "Aha! It's a land. It's something Arkhan Land worked on," because that was Games Workshop's sort of clumsy attempt to find a reason why all this stuff was named a land speeder or land raider to begin with. But there are, as far as we're aware, there's not a lot of Mechanicus ties to the Votann.
Or the Squats.
Or the Squats are the Votann. I mean, I'm not differentiating them anymore.
The reason that I do differentiate them is because the Squats on Necromunda are kind of, as we know, Necromunda is its own little canon, and that has Squats in it, versus the Leagues of Votann, which have different things. Because I wish the Squats Dreadnought was a thing that the Votann had.
I agree. I think that would be cool if it did exist. I'd be all about it.
Yeah. I'm actually checking the land train really quickly to see if there is anything connected to it. So if you could,
no, it's fine. It's fine. I can talk some more stuff. So one of the interesting things about his land's first discovery is it actually caused a minor theological crisis during the Great Crusade. This is pre-heresy era. But his very first STC recovery was not actually a complete design. It was just kind of the memory imprint of a battle tank's suspension lattice, which is barely more than a fragment. But piecing together something that minimal into eventually what became the full Land Raider, well, this was what's described as the Mechanicum's first theological crisis of the Great Crusade, because his success raised very uncomfortable questions about how much true STC knowledge actually survived versus how much the Mechanicus was essentially reverse engineering. And I mean, is it genius or is it guesswork? I don't know. It does bring into question like the idea of Land as not an innovator. He's definitely at the edge of that envelope of what's acceptable to innovate and create, because he did basically takes like this tiny little fragment, turn it into a full working design. But I find that to be an interesting outlook on the whole thing. The Crusade era, of course, this was when Kelber Hall was just sort of like, I'm not super comfortable with what's happening, but everything's generally okay. It would take 200 or 300 years of the Great Crusade before the Schism of Mars fully kicked off. But during that time, there was a lot of back and forth with the Mechanicum. They were kind of trying to figure out who they were, right? They had never before been part of the Imperium. They'd always been their own thing. So it was a very interesting time to be part of the Mechanicum.
I did find the source for the land train in current edition of Necromunda. But it is in Necromunda. It is the Book of the Outland, which features a squat on the front of it, and it has to do with the Outlands, or the Deadlands, or the parts between the hive cities themselves. And it describes a large train that the Votan use. It does directly state land trains, though. But it does say it in lowercase wording.
Lowercase L.
Yes, which weirdly enough is important.
Land trains are in the Necromunda core book, Ricky Chapman says.
They're not.
Okay.
I double checked it, Ricky Chapman. They're in the Outland book, but they are in Necromunda. So it is a squat vehicle, and I wouldn't say it's a Votan vehicle. And this is why I make the distinction between the two. Because Necromunda is its own separate, like, canon from the greater 40k stuff, where 40k has Necromunda in it, but the events of Necromunda don't affect the greater lore of Warhammer 40k.
So Mitford is saying, is it right that the Mechanicum have two sides, the invention research equals heresy, where reverse engineering is okay? This is what I'm saying, is that in this era where Land was doing his thing, it was a time when the Mechanicus was sort of adjusting and rediscovering who they were. And Kelber Hall was kind of the conversion, the conservative side. The Kelber Hall was like, no. We need to go back to who we were before we were with the Imperium. Whereas other forces like Land and Kane were like, no, the way forward is with the Imperium and under the Emperor's guidance as the Omnissiah. So this was these two ideologies. They clashed a little bit, and then eventually would split and create the Schism of Mars 200 or 300 years after they joined the Imperium. So you're right to say that it seems a little awkward at the time, because it is definitely an awkward period for the Mechanicum. Yes. And they would, of course, reorganize themselves considerably post-heresy to become what we now know as the Adeptus Mechanicus.
And the Adeptus Mechanicus totally agrees with all members of the Adeptus Mechanicus.
Definitely not true.
They are actually they sit side by side and all sing the same actual chants and all believe the same stuff, and they never innovate their technology.
One of the unsung legacies of Land, though, is the idea of technoarchaeology as a field of study for the Mechanicus. If you have the Blackstone Fortress thing that came out in 2019, they have technoarchaeologists as a unit on the tabletop.
In fact, it was its first ever appearance and the only model they ever made of one.
So,
because it's the same model from that kit that got made into the regular GW kit. So it's the same model.
So Land's field of study has become an entire group of Mechanicus specialists, and their role is about roaming ancient ruins, hunting for archaeotech. They're like Lara Croft, but with metal and bionics and weird tentacle limbs. But it does do it without the framing of Land's personal specific drive, although I would argue that has become kind of a guiding principle for technoarchaeologists. And because of Land is why technoarchaeology is a recognized ongoing specialization within the Mechanicus. And I think that's a good legacy to leave behind. There's other technoarchaeologists since then, and some of them, of course, have turned to heresy. technoarchaeology is a field that has a real risk of corruption, given how much
Yeah.
of the forbidden Dark Age technology these guys get exposed to, or many of them end up on Necron Tomb worlds. Many of them interface with demon-tainted technology, or they may encounter, remnants of the Men of Iron, which we know those also exist from Blackstone Fortress, by the way.
And they might actually run into even scarier things in what are they called? A bunch of ships mashed together.
Space Hulks.
Space Hulks, because they explore those too, which everyone knows that a Space Hulk is filled with fun. Especially Gene Stealers. Gene Stealers really love Space Hulks, and so do Chaos Cultists.
And we almost forgot to finish the story of the Landite cult.
Oh yeah,
Don't forget the Landite cults. We did mention that there was a subgroup within the Mechanicus that were disciples of Arkhan Land, and they followed his discovery of the FCC knowledge of the Libraries Omnis. This was such a big deal that basically he got a cult of personality around himself. And the Landites, their mission is to continue Land's research. They want to investigate the many potential variants of his original discoveries. They're credited with the development of Land Raider Prometheus and Land Raider Helios, amongst others. There's that. This is where we get that missing vehicle mystery that may or may not be the Sicarian.
Yep. Which I do want to point out that lore was written before the Sicarian was a tank.
Right.
So, grain of salt with that one.
We are speculating that it's a Sicarian tank, but it does make a lot of sense that it could be, to be clear. Basically, all we know is that their research produced something that was an armored vehicle between the Predator and the Land Raider. That's all we really know. The Kratos and the Sicarian are the ones that are the most accurate to that in actual existence as models, but that doesn't mean that they are the thing. So, yeah, leading fan candidates, let's just say, for that particular mystery.
There's that really dumb tank that's really bad. I gotta find its name.
Okay. By the way, the Sicarian tank is, if I had to pick one, I chose the Sicarian because it has a lot of different variants of a single hull, which is in keeping with how Land Raiders were designed by Land and his acolytes. So that suggests to me it's the most likely version. The Kratos is pretty static. It has like one main gun swap, and I think that's
just gun swaps, and that's it.
Yeah, gun swaps are pretty much the only thing you can do with the Kratos.
Yeah. What is it called? Oh, it's the Saber.
No, the Saber's tiny. The
Saber is a very light tank.
It's smaller than a Predator. I would not say the Saber.
Yeah.
I would say it's a possibility. Although the Saber tank is very cool. I really like them. Now,
okay.
Fun fact about the Landites: they were declared techno-heretics in the 39th century, the M39, which is only 3,000 or 4,000 years before the current era, which is kind of interesting. Several members were arrested and condemned to arcoflagellation as punishment for their heresy. Alexis, what is an arcoflagellant?
Oh my God. So, have you ever done anything bad in your entire life?
No, I am pure as the driven snow. I've never sinned.
So you never left a toilet seat up on a
Thursday? Oh God, no!
You never
arcoflagellation.
You never accidentally airdropped a moose at somebody. These laws that are very serious. Arcoflagellation is probably the most brutal thing that the Imperium does, aside from throw people into penitent engines. Conveniently, the Sisters of Battle army, I'm just going to say the army, tends to use a lot of them. I'm just the Ministorum and whatever, that faction tends to use a lot of them. They lobotomize you. They replace your arms with electroflails, and they fill you with so many combat drugs and then just charge you directly at enemies. You are kept locked up at all times. If you live, you are kept locked up. If you die, you die, and they will pump drugs into you to keep your body alive. So they want to keep you active and going. You have no control over your body in any way, shape, or form. You are just a meat monster that hits things with flails. It
Uh,
is
don't
a
forget the
horrific process.
don't forget the pacifier helm. So
Oh,
the way that they control you is not only lobotomies, but also it's a neural implant called the pacifier helm. It keeps you dormant and manageable outside of combat, and then once the battle begins, well, it taps directly into cerebrum and spinal cord. So that is in your dormant state, you're just like you're kind of a zombie. Your fragmented consciousness is filled with the hymns of the holy ecclesiarchy and icons of the emperor's religion rather than independent thought. So you kind of just shuffle around as this dead-eyed, drug-suppressed zombie until you go into battle, and then you're a berserk lunatic screaming hymns as you tear people apart. Now, the ecclesiarchy and the Inquisition are the primary users of arcoflagellants, which suggests to me that this is kind of older lore.
yeah, it definitely seems older because electro priesthood and things of that nature didn't exist yet.
Yeah, I kind of let's just put it this way: I'm sure that they were declared tech heretics. I am not so sure that they were arrested and turned into arcoflagellants.
They were probably turned into combat servitors. Like,
I mean, it depends, right? I
yeah.
mean, if for some reason the Mechanicus turn their heretics over to the ecclesiarchy, that would make sense. But that seems like a thing that probably wouldn't happen.
No, because they would torture them and get that information out of them before they did anything to them.
Right.
Because, it's the Inquisition, and that's what they're all about. And then if they found out that that existed, they'd want to investigate the Mechanicus. And do you know what the Mechanicus doesn't want? Outside investigations.
They're not a fan. This is the whole
No.
reason they make the stuff for the Sisters Battle in the first place.
Yep.
So since their condemnation, the Landis, the surviving members of the Landis cult, they've become extremely secretive about their work for obvious reasons. And their current belief is that the missing pattern for the mysterious vehicle is hidden on a microscopic level within the blueprints of the Land Raider itself. And the disciples of the Landis cult have become obsessed with this quest, but the pattern continues to elude them, remaining an enigma within the wider Imperium to this very day. So if you ever come across a tech priest who's got a jeweler's loop and he's studying a Land Raider at the microscopic level, perhaps he is a Landist, secretly a Landist, trying to find the golden ticket of whatever pattern may still be encoded into the hull of a Land Raider.
It might be the Land Raider Typhoon.
What?
Or, yeah. Well,
Typhoon's
there's
a light
also.
speeder, isn't it?
No, the Typhoon siege tank, which has the gigantic cannon in the front of it.
You mean
It's the Spartan variant.
right? You mean the Typhon, I believe.
Oh yeah, Typhon. Yeah.
Easy
I said
mistake to make.
Typhoon. Yeah.
You did. It's fine. Easy mistake to make. Typhon. There's only one letter different from Typhoon.
Yeah.
Now, why? This is definitely part of like what makes the tech priesthood kind of a bizarre thing in 40K. They treat technology as relics, as holy writs, and they don't really think of it as like in terms of engineering or science. But Alexis, how do you justify that idea that this secret pattern must exist inscribed at a tiny on a microscopic level somewhere on the hull of a Land Raider? How would you justify that in their
worldview?
Yeah, I mean, is there anything related to like religion in our world that does that kind of thing?
I mean, religious justification for a lot of things in the modern world are very much there.
There's people who study scripture to try to find like the numerology of the certain letters. It's the 8th letter or the 7th letter, right?
They try to find patterns in things that don't exist.
So that's kind of what I feel like. That's the real world analogy is people who try to discover the hidden pattern in an existing holy writ. Yeah, Da Vinci Code. Thank you.
Da Vinci Code.
It's the Da Vinci Code of 40K. Holy shit! Does that mean Tom Hanks is a rogue tech priest trying to find the hidden pattern?
Does he have to run from his? Never mind. Anyway, Um, Funny enough, though, in lore itself, they probably view it as a testament of the machine god. Like, this is a great test to find the knowledge that the machine god has already provided for you, and you must justify it. But the Adeptus Mechanicus use their quest for knowledge to justify everything that they are doing. It is just an excuse for them as much of a holy, like, pursuit, which I always think is just really cool. Like, oh, well, obviously I have to kill this guy because he has a bionic leg and I need that for my Castellan robot behind me. And taking his life instead of just having both of them with me is a much better idea.
Oh, I got a super chat from Ice Veins who says, I cannot watch live at the moment. The ever hungry Imperium War Machine keeps me away. Just dropping some support. Thank you, Ice
Thank
Veins.
you so
We
much.
appreciate you. That's a big help, sir.
It it is interesting the legacy that is Arkanlan. I do wish there was more to this character because there are so many questions that I do have. Like, if he is the first of the technoarchaeologists, who was the person after him that took the first mantle of technoarchaeologist in his stead? Because we don't know that technoarchaeologists are kind of just a brand new thing, and they don't have much lore to go on. Is there a magus of it? Because that would be really cool. Like, as somebody who has just studied that, what makes them different than any other like tech priesthood on the quest of knowledge? I have a ton of questions about this. How they standardize their weaponry is another big question that I have, because Arkan Land isn't known for his weaponry. As weird as it
No,
is,
not at all.
I think he just uses a las pistol in the books.
Well, and he's got a scorpion tail monkey,
Yeah,
which by the way, I should really point out that was out of spite because he had an argument with another Magos over the other guy was like, no, monkeys hung from their tails on trees, and Land's like, I'll show you, I'll give him a tail. I'll give him a
what's really
scorpion
funny
tail.
is he was actually wrong in that argument. He insisted that the tail must have been a weapon.
Right, yeah, which clashes with his view of him as a brilliant genius.
Yeah.
So there's a question: is Land a genius, or is he just a guy who got really lucky and made some really good guesses?
So I think the question is, he's a gifted child who outlived being a gifted child, who thinks themselves self-important enough to sacrifice everyone else around them. I mean, I kind of call those like, TikTok stars.
Woo!
But,
Damn. You're also just you're gonna offend everybody here today. I mean, I swear.
I also have a TikTok, so I'm right there with them.
Geniuses can still be wrong, Sarmillion Blood Raven says.
Actually,
Yes, that is.
it is really dangerous when somebody smart is wrong because they will insist that they are correct.
Well, it can be dangerous when a stupid person is wrong too. This is the Dunning-Kruger effect. But
that is true. We have Schrodinger's idiot here. But the problem with somebody being the smartest person in the room is when they're wrong, no one is smart enough to stop them.
Well,
so
I think.
Go ahead.
No, you.
Arkanland is the type of character that is around the Emperor, and the Emperor sought advice from him, or at least clarification from him. So every other tech priest that steps up to him has to know that he talked to the Emperor, he talked to the Omnissiah. The Omnissiah spoke to him. How am I supposed to question whether they are right or wrong? And Arkanland has that as his own mentality, and he uses it to justify how important he is to the setting of Warhammer 40K, which, as you know, no character is above death, and they will be forgotten. They will be a tragic character at the end of their life. That is it, because that is what Warhammer is. So he is a self-aggrandizing genius who is wrong about certain things, but insists that he is correct to the point of creation, which the creation of that creature ultimately violates what he stands for, because he stands to not create, but discover. He did not discover the monkey.
That's a very creative that's a very creative way to discover something. Is to no, I'm pretty sure it was an attack device, so I'm gonna give it to him. Yeah, you make a solid point that Sapien is kind of a representation that he didn't always. He was maybe seen as an orthodox, but secretly maybe not so much.
But
And
I
this also goes
also,
back to Zaphon and the use of the abominable intelligence to fix his
yes,
bionics. Those are evidence that he may not have been nearly as orthodox as we think.
also for somebody that views the Primarchs as tools and didn't allow them to call him father, he felt bad when his monkey died. He was devastated by it. So he created this thing. This thing befriended him, and he used it as a tool to prove that he was correct and as a companion. And then it died, and he understood the creator creation relationship. It's ultimately what made him step up as a character from being a coward running away to trying to help in the Siege of Terra. It's it's the same thing as the Emperor. When the Emperor started the Great Crusade, he viewed them as tools, nothing more, nothing less. They were just tools. But towards the end of the Great Crusade, he viewed them as his sons because he cared about the Primarchs. He didn't want to kill them. He told himself multiple times that he didn't want to kill, he wanted to use Angron because he's a useful tool. But deep down, the Emperor knew that he didn't want to take the risk of killing his son because that was his son. It's the same with the Sapien. He didn't want it to die because he cared about it, but he wanted
Well,
to use it as a tool.
let me ask you this question. So we know that he saved Dominion Zathan,
Hmm.
and the question I have for you is: did he fix Zathan because he wanted to care for a Space Marine who become a friend, or was he just trying to see if he could succeed where the bioengineering of the Astartes had failed?
So I think there's three things with this. The
Okay,
first is he he failed, and that can't happen with him. He cannot fail because he tried to attach the bionics and they didn't work. He
right.
failed. He is not allowed to fail.
But I'm a genius. I'm the
Yeah.
most brilliant. I'm the most brilliant
So
techno archaeologist of all.
his immediate response was to break his vows and one, carry abominable intelligence with him, two, use it, which is horrific in his worldview. But because he was wrong and failed, he had to prove himself right. But I think there's another part of him that actually cared about him because that was the guy protecting him. Yeah, they threatened each other, but it was more in a, well, the Blood Angel was very serious, but he didn't take that as serious. He took that as he's just joking around with me because that's Arkanland's personality. But I also think he wanted to get something out of it to prove to himself that he didn't care about Xiphon. He was like, "Oh, well, the bionics aren't working. We could dreadnought you. I know that'll be terrible and you wouldn't be able to function anymore. Which more than likely your body would reject the dreadnoughtification. I'm going to call it that. Uh,
That's a word now.
yeah, because a lot of candidates that are put into dreadnoughts do get rejected. We just never hear about them, which is always funny. It's the same with Primaris. Unless you're a named character, Primaris is dangerous. The crossing the Rubicon. But I think tech priests are written almost perfectly in Warhammer 40K as the perfect analog for body horror versus finding humanity because they are still human at the end of the day, and when they lose at something, it's when they show that they're human. They show that they care, but they use their cold logic to justify that they don't care. It's like, well, Xiphon without my intervention will die. He has no hands, he has no foot. Sure, he can float around on his jump pack a little bit, but he's gonna be like a fish. Like, what the hell is he gonna do? Bite people? Kick them? He's not gonna be very useful in a fight. But deep down, he actually cared about the Astartes, and he justified it by betraying his oaths, but it allowed him to see Sanguinius. That It's the pursuit of knowledge. It's perfectly fine now.
Well, I'm doing it to save Mars, right?
Yeah, I'm doing it to save Mars. I'm
And
not doing
justifies
it.
the means.
I'm not doing it because I care about this person. I'm doing it because it benefits me. Yeah, because he's a narcissist, but he's not too much of a narcissist that he doesn't care about the people around him. Like he's a much deeper character than his initial surface level. I think he's a little bit deeper than Belisarius Call. And I really like him as a character. I think he's a fantastically well-written character. He cares about the shit around him. And yeah, kind of went on a little rant about that
No,
because
that's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh, Ricky Chapman says we found it in the book Apostle Penitent. In the book Apostle, penitent engines are made on the Shrine World the book takes place on, so penitents are built on Shrine Worlds.
Oh, that's horrifying.
Interesting. Well, I assume they're still built by tech priests though, because this is a fascinating question because tech priests are almost always involved with technology in the Imperium, like almost always. There are subgroups like the Sacristans, which are still tech priests, but they are a very special group of tech priests who work on knights. So yeah, I wonder if there's an unknown subgroup of the Adeptus Mechanicus that works with the Ecclesiarchy to make their stuff, like the penitent engines, and maintain the war suits, right?
In older lore, I think it was the Dialogus that would train alongside them momentarily to maintain their vehicles.
I don't believe there is a tech marine of the Sisters of Battle, at least as far as we know. But there might, that might be. I got to be honest, that would be kind of cool. I'd love to see a Sister of Battle tech marine.
There has to be one.
You think so?
Because they wouldn't let a man work on their vehicles.
Well,
like
are tech priests really men?
I mean, specifically, they don't go down in landing crafts with men and non-binary people. They only go down with women.
So, well, not that's one like specific order. That's not the entire.
Yeah.
That's not all sororitas everywhere.
But I would love a Sister of Battle like master tech priest. Like,
me too.
It would be cool. I want to see. You could have like two hands up here that have like weapons, and the other two servo arms are always praying.
Now the problem is you'd have to do some real lore gymnastics to allow it because they are two completely separate religions.
Just hand wave it and don't create any lore for it like they do with all the new units.
Well, you'd have to. I mean, it would have to be some sort of Sister of Battle who believes the Emperor is also the Omnissiah, like deeply believes, so much so that she's willing to be a borderline heretic within her own order.
To be a member of the tech priesthood that's just assigned to them.
That makes more sense, but I feel like there's a cool space for design to create something like that, to create some sort of Sister of Battle. Put it on a let's build poll, says Lich.
Oh my god.
Let's build this Sister of Battle tech marine. Okay, you know what? Fair.
Weirdly enough, I think the Dawn of War Apocalypse mod gives the Sisters of Battle a tech marine equivalent.
All right, it is now on the list of let's builds. Congratulations.
Damn, they're dark woke. Yeah, they are. No, there is a book where Sisters of Battle refuse to go into a dropship because there's men in it. It's really funny. I love how dumb sisters are at times. It's great. What else can we say about Arkhan?
I've got some closing thoughts.
Okay.
Let's see. So here's what I think. First of all, Arkhan Land is a fascinating character. He's this genius inventor. Well, not really an inventor. He's a genius techno-archaeologist. He's associated with things to such a degree that he kind of feels like an inventor, but he's really not. And if you can imagine where you have this massive ego and a cyber monkey and a missing STC pattern, and they all kind of come together to form this really mysterious, interesting dude. He's a little bit like He's a little bit like a Tony Stark, I guess, in a lot of ways, but not really. It's like a weird combination of Tony Stark and Indiana Jones. Because he does do
Indiana Stark.
miracles with technology. He does miracles with technology, but he doesn't create so much.
Tony
Although, as
Jones.
as as Alexis pointed out, he very creatively approaches discoveries that may or may not be creations or innovations. Somewhere in the middle, we ended up talking about pacifier helms and the arcoflagells, which is this pretty good summary what this hobby does to a person's brain on any given
Yep.
Saturday. But if there's a thread connecting us, that 40K rewards exactly this kind of digging into the lore. Land's naming quirk is not a dumb joke. It's a character detail. It's got actual textual backing. The tragedy of him trying to save and successfully saving Dominion Zathan. There's some narrative weight there, even though we were debating whether what the motivation was for it, but it was a very important and impactful moment, like his desire to retake Mars. And
his desire to retake Mars might still be in effect.
Right, and don't forget that termite full of Sons of Horus somewhere
Yeah.
under Terra. That's to me. That's my favorite detail we learned today was the termite full of Sons of Horus somewhere. But basically, I think Arkhan Land is a really good example of that. The lore holds up when you lean on it, and this is why we keep coming back to ask what ifs and whys rather than just the what, the who, the when, and the where.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, for me, Arkhan Land is a fascinating mystery. I'm glad we got a chance to deep dive into this guy because he's just a really fun character to talk about. We did that episode a while back with Basilio Foe, talking about the Dark Cells of Terra, and I was like, oh my god, I love this guy. Arkhan Land is almost in that same category of just a fun, fascinating little character that adds. He holds up more weight than you'd expect in the lore.
Also, we can confirm that he is fully canon because he is in multiple codexes.
That's true. He was in codexes before. He was in a White Dwarf first, and then he was in some codexes, and now he's in novels, and now he's everywhere. Yep. He's become a thing. Well, thank you guys for hanging out, dropping all the theories and ideas in chat. We really enjoyed those. You put up with us going down rabbit holes that I don't think we planned for. None of the.
I just got to say, my closing thoughts on tech priests and tech marines is it's a great look into 40K's humanization of loss, and I absolutely love it because every time I read about a tech marine or a tech priest, it's always about hey, look at all of this horror that happens, yet somehow that little bit of humanity slips, and that they justify everything they can by trying to pretend that it's for this knowledge and everything, and not because they're emotionally tied to things, when in fact they are emotionally tied to things that they care about. I think it's great.
Ricky Chapman says there was a single tech priest in charge of the factory for the penitent engines, and it's mortal laborers that built the engines with a small surgical lab to insert penitents. That makes a lot of sense.
Okay, that's actually really cool.
Great question from Lichler Kears. What do you think he would have gotten to do if he made it out of the heresy? Ooh.
So I think that him and Call would be working together, or he'd be accusing Call of heresy. Oh my god, it would be two old men accusing each other of heresy.
you. It's Spider-Man.
It's like, you used abominable intelligence. What the hell is that abominable intelligence? And then they both just look at each other. Did we just keep this a secret? Yes! They leave.
Well, certainly I think he would probably be still involved with technoarchaeology. I think he'd be leading more, would have led, I should say, more expeditions to try and discover more STCs, maybe not on Mars, maybe on other Forge worlds, although Mars still has plenty of unexplored areas.
Do you know where I'd want to see him reemerge?
The War of the Beasts.
No. Necromunda.
Okay, yeah. That'd be fun.
He would be like a legendary character in Necromunda.
Checking out the Spyro suits, for example. Oh, yeah. If he made it all the way to 40K, he'd be fascinated with the Tau.
Oh yeah, yeah, 1000%.
I think.
But
Votan too. He'd be very interested, even more interested in the
oh yeah,
Votan.
but Ross, I have one final thing to say.
Oh yeah.
In the grim darkness of the far future,
There is only lore. And don't forget, if you've enjoyed this deep dive into the grim darkness of the far future, help us out by hitting the like button and the subscribe button so that we can the algorithm will spread our heresy to even more unsuspecting minds. We appreciate all of you so much. And we'll
hey,
see you. Oh, heart.
love you
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah.
Bye.
We'll see you on Wednesday. Cheers. Oops. I'm not doing it right. I didn't do
You're
it
not
right.
doing it right.
There we go.